We made it. After toiling through the preseason and working our way weekend after weekend through the regular season, we've reached the pinnacle, the 2026 NCAA Division I baseball tournament. Up first, 16 groups of 4 teams will bash one another until only 16 remain. It's Regional Weekend 2026, and we're breaking it down on this episode of College Baseball Now.
Ain't no problems, that won't problem with me, no. Let me talk to the chat. They know I was gone for a minute, had to BRB. Had to grab a couple wins with I DID. They sleeping on the kid, I had to do it BIG. I can never be average, and they want a problem with the boy, they don't want no static. I don't need your cosign running with God. Wanna test that, tell them what's happening. Took control, run the game. Best believe I'm shining, dog. Counting in my wins, yeah, I love it when they count me out. Off the leash, of the chain, boy, I been a dog. Best believe I run the game, you know I'm in control of y'all. It's like magic, believe I want that static. Yeah, it's like magic, believe I want that static. Yeah, it's like magic, believe I want that static. Beat them up, knock them out. They really don't want no static.
We're here. We made it. After a long season, eventful season, fun season, we made it. What makes it even more special is this was the first season of college baseball now coming to you in 2026. And so we're glad to be culminating that season with you all, our friends at home. We are, of course, your hosting team. Starting with me, your friend, your boy, the director of amateur scouting at Prospects Live, Drew Wheeler. Hey, how's it going? Happy to be joined by your friends and mine. Starting with the man in the middle, it is Mr. Josh Catlett. Josh, it's a real pleasure to see you, sir. I'm excited. Are you excited?
The word excited doesn't do justice to this. I mean, you said it yourself. We spent Decembers doing transfer drafts and mid-major previews and all that stuff, and now we've got 3 straight days of 12 hours of baseball ahead of us, and however long on Monday it takes. I don't know the format of how we're going to talk about them tonight, but I promise you I can monologue on all 64 teams if needed. I am so excited. I'm looking so forward to this. This is the best weekend in sports. I firmly believe it. And yeah, I'm excited to talk about it. I'm excited to hear what off the wall picks y'all have, if anything. Well, let's see where this goes.
It's going to be a lot of fun. And we just heard him say he can monologue on all 64 teams. So I think we abuse that as much as we can. The man on the far right, you'll know him as Coach. I know him as the man who I just saw a handsome photograph of earlier today. He's looking spiffy. He's all cleaned up. He is freshened up, and he's still looking sharp for the pod. It's Coach Jake Bardry. Jake, the best weekend of the sporting year, says Josh. I think I agree.
I agree too. This Friday is going to be the best day of the year for college baseball fans. I mean, maybe one being like Christmas morning, and then 2 being the first day of regionals. I think that's I think we can all feel that way. Also, we did all these bracketologies and everything, and then we get to the selection show. I mean, the bracketology is just impossible because in the end you really just don't know anything. But it's been a blast leading up to it, and I can't wait.
Tell me this isn't the cutest man you've ever seen in your entire life. Like, come on
He's
now.
so handsome. He's so handsome.
Go Knights. Go Knights.
Go Knights. Well,
can
absolutely.
we shout out to JB's whatever picture you said?
I said it had like 10,000 DPI.
Hold on. How much have we? Oh, here it is. I mean, this is truly the clearest picture I've seen in my entire life.
Look, you can zoom in and see the hairs growing on his face. You can zoom in so far on that, Josh.
This is not an exaggeration. I mean, you can see the individual hairs. It's impressive.
Zoom further, Josh. You can zoom further than that.
Oh, wow, you can. If anybody,
Josh, I'm telling you, you can get like
into. Recently plucked his eyebrows. If you can't tell,
that's so brutal, Josh.
Wait, he's got some little stash hairs.
Oh my gosh, he is gonna come for blood, Josh. You know that.
He's maturing. It's so cute.
Wait, who is that guy we're showing a picture of? I don't know who that is.
Seriously.
Well, to spoil the fun, JB is back in the country, but he's taking in Bruce Springsteen at the moment. We're going to let him slide one last time before he joins us again. We are looking forward to some things coming up. We may have had to submit some stuff with some high-quality photographs of ourselves. We'll be in more detail about that later. Josh said it. We don't really have a set-in-stone format for this. We know that we're going to chop up the regionals one by one. And Josh, if you don't mind, since it has been your baby all year, you were the regular season champion. Walk us through what we're doing here. We are going to be picking, but it's a little different than normal.
Yeah, we're going to be picking the regionals in a way that we can't decide whether it's too complicated or not. I think Drew is just too afraid to tell me that it is.
No.
But regardless, I've done this in the past with people. I don't think it's too difficult to follow, but stay with me, folks. All right. We're going to pick the winner and the runner-up of each bracket, of each regional. And you get 3 points for picking the winner correctly, 2 points for picking the runner-up correctly, and then 1 point if you get either of the teams correct, but just in the wrong spot. So, for example, the Los Angeles Regional, for example, say for the sake of this hypothetical, the result of it is UCLA wins and Virginia Tech is the runner-up. If you were to pick UCLA to win and Virginia Tech to be the runner-up, you get 5 points. If you picked UCLA to win and Cal Poly to be the runner-up, you get 3 points. If you picked Cal Poly to win and Virginia Tech to be the runner-up, you get 2 points. If you picked Virginia Tech to win but UCLA to be the runner-up, you get 2 points. You get the gist. If you picked Cal Poly to win and Virginia Tech to be the runner-up, you get 1 point. And then we'll calculate that up for all of them. I'll I guess task myself with doing that really fun job, but it's okay. I've done it in the past. It's really not that bad. You get into a rhythm.
And you only have 4 to grade as opposed to however many of your friends you roped into this last time.
I think it was actually 4 last year too. It was just the 4 of us that I worked with last year. And it wasn't even my idea to come up with the scoring that way, but it's fun. Like we said beforehand, it incentivizes, at least like if I were to try to go out on a limb and say that Cal Poly is going to win the Los Angeles Regional, but they come in second, right? It gives you a little incentive, like, all right, like you had the right idea, kind of just a little bit off, one game went the wrong way.
Yeah, I think, like you said, incentivizes being in the ballpark. And that's something that I think we can all appreciate. Speaking of things we can appreciate, we have talked all season long about the UCLA Bruins, about how they had as much likelihood as potential, whatever we want to call it, of going cover to cover, coast to coast, as it were, as they've done quite a few times this year, in leading the season from the number 1 spot. And alas, UCLA has stuck the landing. We are here at regionals, and sure enough, Los Angeles is hosting. That's the number 1 national seed. And Jake, I'd love it if you could tell us a little bit about the LA regional, because actually, Josh, you've got the bracket pulled up. We're going to add that to the screen for you of all watching at home on YouTube. You listeners, you'll obviously have us talking about it. You won't have the bracket in front of you like we will and like our viewers on YouTube will. But Jake, go ahead and run us through who we've got in the Los Angeles regional, and then maybe give us some 10,000-foot view thoughts on the teams.
Yeah, so we have UCLA as the 1. They'll be facing St. Mary's in their first round. They're coming in as the 4 seed. That's kind of a predictable spot for St. Mary's. You know, the regional location, all that kind of stuff. It just made sense for them to go there. And then that 2 and 3 is going to be Virginia Tech and Cal Poly. Virginia Tech, you know, them being a 2 seed in this is kind of strange. We talked about that on the stream, but. You know, a big thing for them, Brett Renfro, I think, is expected to pitch in this regional. I think he didn't pitch in the tournament or the ACC tournament. I think it was just like short rest. They didn't want to rush him back or something like that. I don't think it was injury related, but nothing to worry there. He's expected to be there for this regional. And that's going to be kind of an interesting thing to watch is, you know, do they attempt to save him? There's going to be a lot of that talk, I'm sure, during this show, but like, do they attempt to save Brett Renfro for UCLA? They just, you know, maybe they want their best, most reliable arm going against UCLA. But another note for Virginia Tech, I know we all 3 agree on this, but Ethan Ball, no pun intended, ball player. He's so much fun to watch. He's an exciting player. He's gonna fit right in here with UCLA. for UCLA, I mean, there's a question for them is will Logan Redmond be available? He hasn't pitched since April 17th. If he's able to return, I haven't really seen much news on it. I don't know if you guys have, but if he's able to return, will he be as sharp as he's been up until that point? The thing about UCLA though, if they get a lead, in the fifth inning, they got Cal Randall, Wyland Moss, Easton Hawk. Those three guys on the back end are just nasty. They can just close out any game. And then for Cal Poly's one I haven't talked about yet, they've been kind of hanging around in the Big West standings all year. They've been kind of flying a little bit under the radar with UCSB, and they ended up stealing that tournament from UCSB, and maybe stealing a bid from I guess could be Mercer. I don't know. We might talk about that later. But this team, this Cal Poly team, it's got talent. Alejandro Garza, Nate Castillon, and their best bat. Ryan Taman, he's got 16 homers, hitting over 350 this year. If they run into a Virginia Tech arm not named Brett Renfro in that first game, they could be a sneaky 3/2 seed pick there. So that's all I got. If you guys have something else,
Josh, lots of great stuff from Jake. I'm curious, anything to add to Jake's thoughts on this one before we move forward with some selections? Because He said a lot. I think the two players who I'm most interested in seeing are, number one, Ethan Ball, who I think if he's still on the ball, Jake, I matched your energy there. If he's still on the ball, then we'll obviously see him kind of making that Hollywood statement in so many words, putting his stamp on, hey, I'm a guy to watch next year and going forward, period. The other one, as you alluded to, Jake, is Logan Redmond. Hasn't pitched since April 17th, and then we know that Wyland Moss kind of stepping into Redmond's spot has been fine. I think he's at something a little bit over a 4 ERA, but has had a bit of an issue with the long ball, if I'm not mistaken. And so it's going to be interesting to see what UCLA does and if that offense can continue to carry the heavy load. Josh, first question to you to lead you in. Can UCLA's offense continue to carry the heavy load? And then second, please feel free to make any points about these teams you'd like, sir.
I think, yes, the UCLA offense is good enough. I think that's just going to be a overwhelming thing we see in this postseason, although maybe not for as long as some people think. That's just a little hint for how I feel about maybe later in this could be coming. They've been a little cold lately, but that's against better competition. These are teams that one of them we thought was going to be a 3 seed and they were a 2. The other wasn't supposed to be in the field but got hot at the right time. And the other is a 4 seed. Granted, a strong 4 seed. I guess I can harp on that a little bit. I don't think St. Mary's is going to be a pushover at all in this. I think they are one of the stronger 4 seeds. They have pretty good bats, honestly. I mean, like, compared to other 4 seeds, they don't strike out a ton. They hit for average really, really well. They get on base at a pretty high clip. Everything looks really solid offensively. They're led by a couple guys that you'll see probably later on. One of them in July this year, Jacob Johnson could be taken in the draft somewhere this year as a third baseman. Ian Armstrong is going to be a projected maybe day 1 guy next year behind the plate. That's a really strong bat that hits cleanup for them. I think that's going to be interesting to see how guys like that do against arms, the likes of, maybe Logan Redmond if he does come back for the first game, or Wyland Moss, whoever it is. And then down the stretch against a Virginia Tech pitching staff that really hasn't been that great behind Brett Renfro. It's not the most solid thing in the entire world. Like, they walk guys at way too high of a clip. They have a couple of these young projectable arms that have good stuff, but can't really reel it in for strikes just yet. We'll see how they do against these more advanced bats. For Poly, the only other team I haven't really talked about, it is the arms that has led this team to this point. And it kind of tempts me to, if it was anyone besides UCLA, well, no, I take back what I was about to say. Never mind. Anyway, the top 2 guys in this staff are really, really good. It makes you wonder just how high they can go in a scenario like this. Griffin Nace and Carson Turnquist are both really reliable arms. Nace had a great performance his last time out against UC San Diego, and Turnquist has just been as consistent gets, besides maybe a couple here and there. I think they can give some fits to Virginia Tech on day 1, and whether it be UCLA or St. Mary's in the second game. The bullpen gets kind of thin pretty quickly, but I think at the top it's going to be really interesting to see how those starters can perform against these top-notch offenses. Virginia Tech maybe not so much, but UCLA for sure, and St. Mary's sneakily.
I love that point, and I love that you talked about Cal Poly pitching. That was where I was going to go. And I think you're absolutely right to say that it gets thin, but I want to give a ton of love to Nick Bond, the closer for Cal Poly, who is, I think, like 6'1" or 6'2", but legitimately nearly jumps down the mound, and I think touched 100 last weekend. Like, it is a stupid level. I'd say 70 fastball at this point. So, I mean, give it some pro dev, and I think he's 26 eligible. Give it some pro dev. This kid can really just stroke. I love what's going on with him. Excited to see what happens. And, yeah, Cal Poly, certainly no pushover. I like it. I like the vibe about St. Mary's too, Josh. I think a lot of people are going to look at Los Angeles and almost say, chalk. And maybe, but maybe not quite as chalk as we think. So, Josh, how are we going to do this? Are we going to give our selection then runner-up, or give runner-up then selection? What do we want to do here?
I say each person can just go and say both their picks at once, if that's fine with y'all.
Lead off, my man.
Also, reminder, I do have JB's picks too.
Let's do JB's, and then we'll get yours as well for LA.
All right. What's that groan for, Jake?
Well, he finally sent his picks in on time before we started.
No, he sent them to me at like 10 a.m. this morning. He just kept it under wraps.
Okay.
He has UCLA winning this region and Cal Poly as his runner-up. I think this is the first regional where I'm changing my pick on the fly from what I thought it was going to be beforehand. I think I talked myself into Cal Poly as the runner-up instead of Virginia Tech. I was thinking Va-Tech just because their offense looked really good against Notre Dame when I saw them last week, and they've been pretty good down the stretch. Not great, but they've been pretty good. And I really do think, granted, the only offensive guy I really trust on this offense is Ryan Taman, besides like maybe Dylan Kordick out and right. Like, I don't really trust a lot of the bats, but Griffin Nace and Carson Turnquist, if they can get off to a good enough start like they typically do, they can pick off a game or two in this regional. So I'll take them as my runner-up. I don't think I need to say who the winner is. It's obviously UCLA.
Well, after hearing you and JB go Cal Poly, that for runner-up, that really stymies me. I was hoping to make a splashy pick there, but Jake, I'll jump ahead if you don't mind. I'll take UCLA and then Va-Tech for the runner-up. I'll try to maybe scrap a little bit of some point there that these guys may have left on the table. But curious where you're thinking, Coach.
You know, I'm glad you took Va-Tech because I didn't want us to all be the same. I was planning on going Cal Poly before we started too. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I'm glad you hit on Nick Bond because him, coming out of nowhere, popping triple digits. I mean, he's got 15 saves this season. Like he's a legit weapon as a closer. If they can get him to the mound, they have to feel good about their chances of winning at any point when he's pitching, because I would assume he's only pitching with the lead. So I'll go. I think I'm going to go UCLA and Cal Poly.
Well, every one of you is fired, and I hate you. So good to know. Good to know. All right, let's move forward. Josh, going to stick with you to talk about the Morgantown Regional. Yes, thank you, sir. Pulled that up. Morgantown was one who I think during our stream, Josh, I led off by saying the Big 12 erasure and the Big 12 hate had gotten so out of hand. I think the fact that Morgantown is at the 16th national seed is just appalling. But nevertheless, it is almost a sneaky good regional with a couple of 2-3s who have been upsettingly inconsistent.
I don't think it's sneakily a good regional. I think it's pretty consensusly one of the top 5-6 fun regionals on paper, because I don't want there to be any Binghamton erasure here either, because they're a pretty solid 4 seed and they've had a stranglehold on the America East all year. One of the few low major teams that actually won their conference tournament, that won the actual regular season too. So shout out to them.
Shout them out.
But the top 3 teams here are very fun, because West Virginia we thought could be a higher seed than this. We thought they should have been, to be honest. Wake Forest, there was some 1 seed push, although the quad 1 record really hurt them. And Kentucky, I don't know. I personally don't feel great about them, although they snuck in. A lot of people feel like they shouldn't have. They shouldn't have. Let's be honest here. It should have been Mercer, but that's beside the point. They are here. the offense isn't really good enough for them, I don't think. The starters for them aren't really what you would desire past. I mean, like Jelkin's great, don't get me wrong. Cleaver, I think he has some upside. Like there are some positive things about him, but I think after that it gets really thin. Nate Harris hasn't been phenomenal this year. Out of the bullpen, there's no one that you can really hang your hat on to be like super, super consistent. Jackson Saucy has been like solid, but besides that, like no one's really been the most reliable bullpen arm, and that scares you down the stretch for them. I think the main thing here is this is a super trendy upset pick because typically you see that in these 12 through 16-ish regionals anyway. But Wake is a really strong 2 seed, and it's because of Chris Lavonis on Friday. For the most part, the bullpen has a lot of flashy young guys, a lot of guys that are just like I mentioned earlier with Vatek, but to the nth degree with this. Big stuff, high velos, struggles throwing strikes, and we'll see how that actually lasts in a postseason environment. But they have a really fun middle of the lineup too. Kay Lewis, Luke Costello, Dalton Wentz, Javar Williams can swipe 50 bags if you want to, and he's ridiculous. He's a great hit over power guy with great speed. They're just super fun to watch. Ultimately, West Virginia, I don't want to take all the talking points here, but West Virginia, we've talked all year. It's the top 3 in that lineup. It's Gavin Kelly, Matthew Einig, and Paul Schoenfeld. They're going to be leading the way on offense. But after that, it kind of thins out relatively quickly. The pitching is where you find the strengths here. Chanson Cole and Max Yale have been awesome. Dawson Montesta has a lot of upside, but he's kind of all over the place at times. The bullpen is strong compared to a lot of other teams in this area. Ian Korn, Carson Estridge, just to name a couple. I mean, I really believe in what this team can do on the mound. They don't get hit around very much. They don't punch out a ton either, but they don't walk at the highest clip either. They kind of take control of the game. I think, I don't know. We'll get the picks later, but I think that there's maybe a little bit, you should back off a little bit on the upset pick as much because West Virginia is a super strong 16 seed. I mean, a super strong 1 seed, even though, it's popular to go with the high 2 seeds just to, have a little upset pick in your bracket.
Yeah. We definitely have talked about West Virginia all year, Josh, and I've kind of said multiple times on the Daily Sheet that they are a nickel and diming team. They take what they can, and those bits of change add up at the end of the game. Then that's deceptive power for West Virginia too. But either way, it's all good. Jake, I do want to throw to you because as Josh kind of alluded to a second ago, with Kentucky potentially not being I think the baseball universe, college baseball universe, has been adamant this is a Mercer spot rather than Kentucky. And so, Jake, I know you've had a lot of heavy feelings on that. I'd love to get your thoughts on that, but then also your thoughts on the rest of this regional as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try to keep it a little short with the Mercer thing, but everybody's talking about like the metrics, certain things matter. We can't decide if does RPI matter the most, does strength of schedule matter the most, does non-conference strength of schedule matter the most. Like in the end, like it's really hard for a mid-major team to get to a top 30 RPI. It's just really hard because they don't get the benefit of playing like the SEC schedule that's just going to naturally boost it. Like my biggest takeaway about it is just that like Mercer being left out is just bad for the sport all the way around. Just because like what are other mid-major teams supposed to do? Like how should all the other like non-Sunbelt mid-major teams like feel about this? Like should they even try until conference tournaments if it's not going to matter in the end if you can win 44 games and be at 28 RPI and still get left out? Like is why even try until you get to conference tournaments? And also why should the players that are at these schools stay and not transfer if they already know that they have basically a zero chance of making the tournament if as an at-large if no matter how many games they win in the regular season? I just think like it's very like sad to see them left out, and it just doesn't set a good example, and it doesn't look good for any other mid-major teams that are even considering like trying to schedule a tough schedule. Just because Mercer went to Oregon State in the middle of the season for a series. They tried to schedule well. Like there was the committee chair guy said that like the intent to schedule wasn't there. Like they literally flew all the way across the country to play Oregon State in the middle of the season. Like they intended to schedule. Like that argument doesn't really make sense to me. They can't control what every other team that they scheduled did, but it's just not a good look for the sport. But for this regional in particular, the first thing that caught my eye was that it's just some really good top end pitching in this one. Like we talked about the West Virginia arms, Max Yell, Chance and Cole, Dawson Montez, Ian Corn's a really good arm. I don't know if Josh mentioned him or not. And then on Wake Forest, Lavonis, we've talked about him a lot. He's so good. And they also got my guy Evan Jones waiting in the bullpen. I think he had a kind of a rough outing in the tournament, but he's been lights out for him all year as a freshman out of the pen. And then as much as we don't really want Kentucky to be here, but I mean Jackson Jokin versus Chris Lavonis in that first game is going to be one of the more fun pitching matchups we'll probably see on that first day.
First game too.
First game.
Yeah, for real. And then for Binghamton, they also have Connor Griffin. He's a legit arm, and they
Excuse me?
He's got some good partners in the rotation. Jackson Mitchell, freshman Mason Holloway. They have some decent pitchers at Binghamton. I wouldn't completely count them out from maybe taking like a elimination game or something down the stretch there. But yeah, I like the pitchers. I like the top end pitchers in this one.
It is. It's a great regional for some top end pitching. Love it. Great points, guys. I think, Jake, I want to stick with you to make your selection first, winner and runner up from out of the Morgantown region, sir.
I'm going to take West Virginia as the winner. We like West Virginia on the show, but I really do like them. I think they maybe should have been a slightly higher host, probably not like crazy higher than what they are right now, but I mean a couple spots higher would have made a little bit more sense in my opinion. But I'm going to take them. They're going to have an electric super regional matchup against UCLA. And for the runner-up, I'm just going to go Wake Forest. I think Lavonis is good, but they also have Cade Lewis, Dalton Wentz, Costello, Williams in the outfield. The RPI has been a good spot for them all year. This is not a weak 2 seed, as it shouldn't be if they're going to the 16 seed, but not a weak opponent at all. I think Wake Forest can just come out of this in second.
Nice. Josh, let's get JB and then we'll get you.
So JB is going JB is going West Virginia to win the regional and Kentucky as his runner-up, the team that I'm pretty sure he also said he believes shouldn't be in, but nonetheless, he's taking them to win. I mean, not to win, be the runner-up. I will be taking West Virginia to win and Wake to be the runner-up. It's just the two pitching staffs that are going to overwhelm. Wake Forest goes without saying. We know enough about them. West Virginia is something that I forgot to mention but should be pointed out. They've had all this dominance in the Big 12, which is a really offensively driven conference. And I think it should be noted that they've put up numbers like they are ninth in the entire country in ERA. In the Big 12, that's really impressive. And they strike out at a high clip. They don't allow a lot of runs to come across the plate, and they do it in a lot of different ways. It's a strong 1-2 combo to start games Friday and Saturday, and a strong bullpen. And I think they can overwhelm Kentucky, Wake, and Binghamton's lineups.
I think so too. I really figured one of you would take Wake. Now I'm torn whether I should do that for the gamesmanship aspect or not. I'm going to take West Virginia. That's been my team all year. I feel like I've been banging drum for them as a Big 12 enjoyer, and I'll take Wake as well as the runner-up. I think that the pitching staff is so good, and I think Dalton Wentz has another gear that he could show, and I think maybe this is the time that he does it in 2026. Big fan of his. All right, let's move forward. Josh, we are going to go back to you to talk about Hattiesburg, down South Mississippi. Lots to be said about this regional. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this would join Morgantown as one people often point to as, that could be a tricky one, huh?
Yeah, for sure. I think this is actually, one of my friends today, when I was at lunch, texted me. It's one of my friends that like obviously watches college baseball, but not to the extent of us. He texted me his bets that he was going to place for the week, and he's like, all right, there's 4 upset picks I like for my regionals. And I responded to him and was like, yeah, I kind of like these. The issue is I think is literally the 4 trendiest upset picks on the entire board, one of which being Jacksonville State to win this regional. And I hate it because everyone loves it, and I hate it because it's so trendy. That said, very easy to see why. I mean, it's super easy to fall in love with this team, as people have all year. Who would have thought that Jacksonville State would have done this well? But I mean, the starting rotation is really, really what's so great about this team. Stephen Cash, Eli Pillsbury, Bo Bryant haven't performed super well over the past couple weeks, but on the whole season, it's just phenomenal stuff. I'm pretty sure they all have, if I remember correctly, they all have ERAs below 3, or it's pretty close to it. The bullpen's super strong too. Mannix McDougall, I've talked to y'all about him before. Skylar Hutto, pretty solid. I think that's what people really love about this team because there's not much to love in the lineup. It's just a lot of it's like a smaller version of Bishop ball. It's like we're gonna bunch you around, we're gonna get little slappy hits and steal bases, and we're gonna manufacture runs in weird ways. So it's fun to watch, but it's not super, big power bats, firepower kind of offense.
Not sexy.
No, not at all. It's a great way of putting it. Speaking of sexy, I might as well talk about Southern Miss while I'm here, like I haven't all year. I mean, you want to talk about another really solid pitching staff. This is where you do it. I mean, I don't even know where to begin with this pitching staff. They're awesome. They're ranked so highly in so many metrics throughout the entire country, and I've done it in a conference that has some pretty solid offense too. It probably is a top 5 pitching staff in this postseason, if we're being honest. Led by Graydon Harris and Camden Sundstrom out of the starting rotation. Camden Clark is a really good third guy for them too. Coming out of the bullpen, one of the top guys in the country, Colby Allen, who started the year as a starter, didn't work out, and has come back and been electric in the bullpen. Cross Sibley, an older guy that's returned and been a super big piece for them too. Just to name a couple. Thomas Crabtree, I've talked about him on here before. There's some firepower in the offense too. Kyle Morrison, Joey Urban, Davis Gillespie. Those are all really, really big firepower, really big boppers in the middle of the lineup that can manufacture runs in more conventional ways, like with the long ball, unlike Jack State. It'll be fun to see how they perform against power conference arms like Virginia out of the ACC and guys like Jacksonville State that have just dominated the Conference USA, and teams they've played like Auburn and Alabama. They've held their own. They beat Auburn twice. They swept us this year in the midweeks. So they can do it against bigger teams, and I'll be interested to see how they do it in a tough environment like Hattiesburg and on the big stage.
It is. I think that's going to be very compelling, and you talked about it, how this Jacksonville State team has become such a darling. And now, granted, you do have some folks who are coming in with less intimate of a knowledge, as you said, of college baseball than we have. They don't have a problem, I think is probably the best way to say that, whereas we have an issue, the 3 of us in JV. Jake, I want to go to you because this is such an interesting regional. I'm curious, what is piquing your interest across this board? Who jumps out?
Yeah, like real quick, I know Josh hit on Kobe Allen being out of the pen. Like if this goes into a 4th game for them, like he is more than capable of coming. Like if he throws, say, this first game out of the pen 30, 40 pitches, he is more than capable of bouncing back on that Monday and just giving them a start and going as long as he can go. He's obviously has experience in doing that. And then another note for Jack State, they've played really well on the road this year. They're not going to be nervous going into this environment, I don't think. But I'll talk about Virginia a little bit. They've run into some inconsistencies at times, especially on the mound. But if there's anything for certain with this team, it's that AJ Gracia and Eric Becker are going to swing it, and you can't avoid both of them. They're going to need some good performances on the mound to match what Jack State's going to throw at them in that first game. But if those two get going, they can put up runs quickly for Virginia. And And for Little Rock, they played really well in the LSU regional last year. They took out DBU. They took one from LSU last year. The leaders of this team, they come from the offensive side. Nolan Frund, Cade Smith, Angel Cano. They might have to piece some things together on the mound. Brandon Westmoreland has been kind of their ace, and he's been really good. And I assume he'll be the one going against Southern Miss. And like I said, we've seen this Little Rock team play well in regionals before, and I wouldn't be completely shocked if he goes out and throws a good 6 innings for him and keeps him in that game late.
I think so. Going to be interesting. I think that our picks may be more split than what I'm kind of assuming they will be. Do you guys care if I pick first?
Go for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's been too long since we've had Eric Becker propaganda. I think we literally have spoken his name in the last 5 minutes. That's fine. What we know from some recent reports, he's healthy. The hand, it was injured, and yet now says he feels really good, ready for the tournament. I'm curious if that means we're going to see some switches flipped with Becker in terms of performance. Not that it's ever been bad, but I think that could allow Gracia, maybe Joe Tiroli, a little bit of extra space that they can breathe and perform offensively. I'm going to take Virginia. I think that I'm going to deter from the picks that I made in another bracket and try to be a little spicier here. I'm going to take Virginia, and I'll take Jack State as my runner-up.
Oh.
So, yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I'm trying to play the game and be spicy with what I have. Let's get JB and then yours, Josh. Jake, you can round us off.
All right. JB. Oh, wow. I didn't even notice this. JB also took Virginia to win the regional.
JB, let's go.
He picked Southern Miss as the runner-up. I'm going to this is the most obvious pick of all time. Actually, that's not true. There's 2 more obvious ones coming later. But I will be taking Southern Miss to win. Like I said, the pitching staff is just so good, and there's enough bats to be able to withhold whatever these other pitching staffs, besides maybe Jack State, have to offer. I will be taking Jack State as my runner-up, though. I'm not going to go all the way, like people like to say, and pick them to win the regional, but I really do think, like, even on Friday, I'm at the point I like Eli Pillsbury more than I like Henry Zatkowski. He's, like, not as much flashy, like 92, 93 sitting with his fastball kind of stuff, but he's, like, upper 80s fastball guy, pretty solid stuff, gets a lot of swing and miss. I think he's going to be good enough to overwhelm a Virginia lineup like that, which hasn't fully impressed me, to be completely honest. And I think they can hold their own against Southern Miss and whoever they get knocked into the losers bracket against, probably Virginia again, if we're being honest. I think the pitching is good enough and the bullpen depth is good enough to be able to manipulate and maneuver their way around the regional to at least get to the runner-up spot, if not win.
Word. That makes a lot of sense to me. Jake, or what? We got JB's as well. Jake, round us off. What are you thinking here?
This is not an easy regional, and it's one that, it might be one of the more interesting one in terms of just like the combination of teams and like overall, like just balance from top to bottom. This does still feel like one where Jack State probably should have been a 2, Virginia probably should have been a 3, potentially. I don't know. You could have swapped them. I wouldn't have been upset about it, but I still think Southern Miss just takes it. I think that they're playing so well right now. I think they have more firepower, and I like them being at home with that fan base being behind them. They're going to be going crazy, and they get to that championship game. I'll go with Southern Miss to win it, and just to be different, I don't think we've made this one. I'll go Virginia as the runner-up. I wanted to take Jack State as the runner-up. I just don't know. I don't know if the bats are going to be able to compete, the way these other lineups are. I think Virginia, if something can keep going for them, it could be that their bats do get going in this tournament. So I'll take them as the runner-up.
Yeah, definitely. This is going to be a good one. If our conversation didn't stir you towards that direction, this is going to be a good one, folks. You're going to want to tune into Hattiesburg as much as possible. Jake, I'd love it if you could walk us through Gainesville, through the swamp for our favorite Robert Louis Stevenson tale of Dr. Florida and Mr. Gators, except this time they have not just 1, but 3 house guests coming to see them. Now, which one will answer the door? We'll find out.
Yeah, Florida. I still don't really fully know which one's the good version, but we're gonna need the good version. Dr. Florida can be the good version. We're gonna need that version of Florida for them to come out of this one. It's another one where it's an interesting pitching decision for Florida. Do they go Peterson or Aiden King in that first game against Ryder? It probably, I think I would probably go Peterson. He's been a little bit more of a wild card at times this year, and then if this as inconsistent as this Florida team's been on both sides, the one consistent thing has been Aiden King, and that's there's no need for any suspense in that because we've talked about it all the time. But whatever game he pitches in, you can all but guarantee a win as long as the offense puts up at least 3 runs. It feels like. I would probably save him for the Miami Troy matchup. For Miami, the bats on this team can be really scary. Like Daniel Cuvée can obviously leave the yard at any moment. Guys like Derek Williams, Alex Sosa, Alonso Alvarez have been really solid for them all year long. And then they got Rob Evans, AJ Siscar is something to pay attention to. Like both of those guys have potential to really fling it. I don't know if they have too much of a decision to make there either. Thinking ahead if they face Florida in a second game. I don't know if it matters too much with them. For Troy, this Troy team, they were kind of on the bubble, but for the most part, in the end, I think everyone kind of figured out that they were going to be safe. When I think of Troy, I think of offense most of the time, and when I think of Troy's offense, I think of Jimmy Janicki. That guy is a hitter. He's a great player. And when him and Aaron Pisecki, Drew Nelson, when they're all going, you better watch out because this offense is dangerous. Pitching hasn't necessarily been their strength at times, but Tommy Egan's been their best arm this year. Ben Stubbs has been a good 1-2 punch with him in the rotation. That's not an easy duo when you go into a regional facing those 2 really solid arms. It also helps they got guys on the back end. Hayden Smith, Zach Crotchfeld, Dylan Alonso, they all have 40-plus innings this year, just about a sub-4 ERA on all of them. I think Dylan Alonso's just over that, but they're really good arms out of the bullpen as well that can get them some length. And then for Ryder, they're the last MAAC champion that there ever will be. Shout out the Bronx, Kyle Neri, Eric Hartman. They've been there for a while. They've played in the postseason. Pitcher PJ Craig. They've all been around. They've all been together for a while. They've made the postseason before. So shout out the Bronx.
Can't leave them out. And awesome for them for taking that last MAAC, right? Josh, looking over this one, lots of things to note. One thing I do want to point out before you get into it, though, according to my most recent reports I've seen, I don't think we're getting Daniel Cuvée for Miami this weekend. Looks like the stress fracture is going to keep him out until at least, Supers, if they can get there.
Yeah, it does appear that way. I've seen the same kind of reports. Not great for them. The offense looked fine this past week in Charlotte, though, when I saw them. Off the top, I do want to say I now know what it feels like to go second in these things, and Jake took all of my points, and I don't like it that much. But I see how it feels now. I get it. Yeah, I'll talk about that offense a little bit, though. It was really fun to watch them this past week, and they can do damage in here, I think. Derek Williams, Alex Sosa, Fabio Peralta had a pretty good week. Dylan Dubovic, Alonso Alvarez, some really good power bats kind of in the middle of that lineup that are very easy. That are very hard to pitch around. The bullpen is kind of where I have issues here. It's not bad per se, but there's nothing that really stands out to you. Like Ryan Bilka is probably their go-to guy in a tough situation, but he hasn't been phenomenal this year like you'd expect. Lyndon Glidewell and guys like Packy Bradley Cooney from Alabama, they've been good, not great. And I don't know if that's going to cut it in this type of environment. That's the issue. They allow way too many free passes. They are typically how do I put this? They have good enough put out stuff that could carry them, but if they're going to allow free passes the way they typically do, it might not matter. I'll talk about Troy a little bit too, the in-state team. I've been high on them since the preseason. I'm very glad that they actually got into the postseason. I'm excited to watch that offense play for sure. Aaron Piasecki has been a phenomenal transfer for them. Jimmy Janicki, really good. Unfortunately, probably a future transfer from them. Let's be honest here. But a great, potential first-round draft guy next year nonetheless. Josh Pines and another great transfer bat from Indiana from them. Blake Cavell, Stephen Meyer, some returning veterans that have finally gotten the chance to play in the postseason. This is Troy's first time since 2023 when they won, I think, one game in the Tuscaloosa Regional. It was against – who was it in that? It was either Wake or Boston College. I'm blanking. I think it was Boston College. Nonetheless, last time they were here, and Skylar Mead's been vouching for them to get in the past couple of years, and they finally did. They're ready to make some noise for sure. Tommy Egan has some good put-out stuff, some nice swing and miss stuff. The rest of the staff isn't the most appealing thing in the world. Hayden Smith and Zach Crotchfeld have been pretty solid for them, but I mean, we saw a lot of arms get used in a lot of spots this past week. That's the best way to put it. They were overused in Montgomery, but they had to be. And it might not be really indicative of what they truly could be, but it wasn't great to look at. But I know that they can get it back together enough to maybe overwhelm some of these other offenses. It might not be pretty. They might have to win some 11-9 ball games, but it could be done. There's also a couple Auburn guys on this team, Zach Crotchfeld and Drew Nelson, some former transfers. So a little soft spot there for them, but I believe that they can really make some noise in this regional. I would talk about Ryder, but those are Jake's guys from the Northeast, so that I let him have that.
Very good. Very polite of you to do that. All right, Josh, we will stick with you then. Let's get yours first. The Gainesville Regional winner and runner-up.
You sure you want mine first? Because this is the most fun one. We'll start off on a fun note then. My runner-up, I'll go with Florida. They typically don't – weirdly enough, I've heard some other people talk about this week. I can't take full credit for this, although I do remember it, but they just jogged my memory. Florida doesn't have the best history hosting a regional in Gainesville. They lost in 21 and 22 at home, so it's not necessarily a shoo-in for them to move to the next round. But nonetheless, we know how good that pitching staff is, and the offense, it gets thin pretty quickly, honestly. Like, let's be honest. Brendan Lawson is great, and Blake Sear has been pretty good. Nothing about the bottom of that lineup really scares you, so I think they could come up short. 2, my Troy Trojans from the state of Alabama. They barely got in, last team in, and they're going to advance to a super to play Southern Miss, in which case that's going to be so fun, but it'll be fun for me to watch. It won't be tough for me to watch. I don't think it'll be just objectively fun. It's a Sun Belt super regional. Winner goes to Omaha. That would be so cool. I think the bats are going to be good enough, really. And the pitching staff, Skylar Mead can find a way to finagle their way through that regional and really figure things out. So give me Troy. It's my first upset pick.
Troy Southern Miss is in the top 10 most Josh supers I could imagine. So
absolutely.
Maybe it's maybe top 5, maybe at 5, but it's one of the most Josh games I can think of. How about JB? What did he choose for this one?
Flip my picks, and that was his. He went Florida to win and Troy to be the runner-up.
I was going to ask, who is Roy?
I was just about to say, shout out to Roy, whoever. Give me Roy Williams, Roy from The Office, and Roy G. Biv. Those are my top 3, I think.
I think my favorite Roy is the random character who was inserted into The Simpsons for one scene and then never spoken of again. Homer, how you doing, Roy? Anyway,
so our Mount Rushmore. Can we make a graphic of that?
Yeah, remind me. I'll make a graphic of that.
How do we put Roy G. Biv on there? How's that going to work?
I'll find a man who looks like the rainbow.
Got it.
Just remind me of those 4, and they'll be on it.
I got you.
You have to write that down, please.
I'll put it. Hey, I have my timestamps notes over here. Don't worry. For the good people at home, I'll put Roy G. Biv AI generated image at the top and see what happens.
Damn it, I'm not using AI, but yeah, we'll figure it out. Jake, get us off of this train. Pick your winner and runner up instead of us talking about all-time Roys.
I was considering doing exactly what Josh did. I'm not gonna steal his thunder. I'll let you have it. I'll go Florida and Troy as my runner up. I'll follow in suit with JB. But I was really close. I was really close to going Troy as the winner, but I'll take him as the runner up.
I'm going Florida, and I'll take Miami. Somebody's got to get them on that graphic. I like Troy. And the more I think about it, a Troy Southern would be a ridiculous super. I just think Florida's pitching is too strong. It's insane. So very good stuff there. All right. We have made it to the main event. I realize what you're thinking. We are only 5 regionals in. But if you will notice, the number 1 seed and the number 2 seed in this regional, we have predicted this as far back as when, Josh?
The first time I put it out there was like early March, but we had jokingly talked about it since like February, January.
Yeah, a long time coming now for us. Josh, I'm going to say this. You're going to lead off. I'm going to ask you to not speak about a certain team and save that one for Jake. Jake, I'll let you speak exclusively of that team, but maybe not another one Josh wants to speak on, just out of respect for one another. As we break down Chapel Hill, Josh, beyond the top 2, deceptive talent up and down. I think this is my favorite tough regional. We'll get to that obviously later in the week. We have a very fun piece coming out at prospectslive.com later in this week that is coming together as we speak. VCU talent, ECU talent. Of course, the top dogs, Josh. What's going to happen in Chapel Hill, you think?
All right, the first thing I will say off the top, I mentioned this to y'all earlier. I know it's fun for us to talk about this regional in terms of how it affects us. It is egregious how difficult this is for a 5 seed UNC. And it's rich for me to say that, being a UNC supporter, but it's been everywhere. Everyone has talked about it. You go through all these top 8 seed regionals and talk about it's not that bad, 2 seed, 3 seed, This is a gauntlet. It's egregious that UNC got this draw as the 5 overall seed. I mentioned what I'm about to say to y'all in a text in the group chat earlier, and I want to put it on put it on record. I found this on my own too. This is not like a stat that I saw on Twitter. I figured this out on my own. Of every single regional, this is the only regional where all 4 teams rank within the top 100 nationally in ERA and runs scored per game. I say all that to say these are really good offenses and really good pitching staffs across the board, and you're not getting any off days. So that's my little UNC got a rough draw rant, although it evens out for me because Auburn's is pretty favorable, but that's beside the point. I'll talk about ECU for a little bit first. I'll let Jake talk about VCU since it's a little closer to him too. I don't know how much he's seen them, but regardless, ECU is a good baseball team. They are getting hot at the right time. They are a very disciplined baseball team too. They have a good pitching staff. Cliff Godwin always has this team in this spot, it feels like, ready to make something happen. The pitching staff, led by Ethan Norby and Ryan Towers. We did learn earlier today Ryan Towers is going on Friday against Evan Blanco for Tennessee instead of Ethan Norby versus Tegan Coons, which we all wanted, which is very sad, but, it happens. It's strategy. Beyond that, Luke Payne's been a pretty solid starter for them too. Joseph Webb has been great out of the bullpen. We talked about the transfer draft we did in November earlier today, and someone took him. I forget who it was, and he's really panned out for them for sure. There's a couple really good guys out of the bullpen for them they go to pretty often. Gavin Marley, Ethan Rose, typically tend to be the go-to guys besides Joe Webb. So I think that pitching staff can really hold their own against any of these offenses, to be honest. The offense for ECU is not the most appealing thing. Jack Herring, Braden Burris have been pretty good for them, but it really, really thins out very fast. It's not exactly they don't really walk at the rate that you want them to. They can collectively put together some team efforts against American competition, American meaning AAC, not the whole country, that is good enough to get them in a spot like this, win the regular season. But I think when you're going up against pitching staffs like UNC and Tennessee, could be a bit of an issue, but we will see. Now, I'll talk about the North Carolina Tar Heels. I saw them 3 times this past week, and I've watched Lord knows how many games this year for them.
At least 3.
This is true. I can confirm at least 3. It's a super fun team, but it's not flashy at all. And I've said it, this is exactly how Carolina likes it. Scott Forbes and that fan base do not want to be the team that is firepower, tons of home runs, or tons of put-out stuff, elite pitching staff in that way with tons of I hate to say I'm not just saying this because you two are here, but like a Tony Vitello Tennessee-esque antics in the dugout. They don't want that. It's a wine and cheese crowd that wants to just win ball games and ease by. and that's exactly what they're doing. They've been the number 2 team in the country ranked for a little while now, and deservedly so, but it's nothing flashy. They just do everything the right way, and it's a collective team effort. There are 5 guys on this team that are going to be drafted in the first 10 rounds-ish. A couple could be day 1 guys. Owen Hull, Jake Schaffner, Gavin Gallagher, Macon Winslow. Cooper Nicholson's been great for them. A JUCO transfer has been awesome for them at third base. Eric Paulson. Rom Kellis played this past weekend. He plays like once every weekend, like once every 3 games. He had a 2 home run game this weekend. It's just guys like that step up into big spots. The pitching staff, I'll talk about this later when I make my pick more in depth. But it's names you all know. It's draft guys, whether it be now or the future. That said, the pitching staff is like 5 guys. And I mean that almost as literally as you can. Over the course of the weekend, you might see 6 pitchers, and that could come back to haunt them. We will see. I'll leave it at that. We'll get back to me when we make my pick, but I'm so glad we're in this spot. I cannot believe we manifested this and it happened. Whether it's in the winner's bracket, the loser's bracket, or the regional final, we better get at least one UNC versus Tennessee matchup. Please, I need that like I need air to breathe.
It would be crazy if we didn't. And yes, if we're going to start manifesting things, I think Drew gets a $10 million a year salary to talk baseball with you guys. This needs to be on the agenda for next year. But I won't sit here and beg or choose. Jake, what I will do is ask you to talk about the University of Tennessee Volunteers, what they're looking at, and then also your thoughts on the rest of this regional, because it is so low.
Yeah, for Tennessee, I mean, honestly, like this Tennessee team was probably not a ton of wins away from being in that hosting conversation. Maybe if they just avoid that nightmare series that they had against Vanderbilt earlier in the year, like who knows what we'd be talking about right now. But for Tennessee, the bats are heating up. Coons is pitching really well. Hopefully Mac's going to be available. I read something earlier. I think there was a quote from Coach Elander that he said we're going to wait and see on Landon Mack. It wasn't a no, and that he will be making the trip. So that's at least a positive note for Landon Mack's chances of pitching on this trip. But if he can't go, I would assume it's probably Appenzeller, who I would hope at least starts in his place. He got the start in the SEC tournament. I like those chances if they don't have to go to him sooner out of the bullpen. But a guy who's really come on strong this year is Trent Grinlinger. He's really been hitting well down the stretch. But Henry Ford, Reese Chapman, Levi Clark, Garrett Wright, they make for a really strong group once they all get going. That's a dangerous lineup, and we've seen that lineup carry this Tennessee team to victories this season. And especially they got to feel good about having what's Tegan Coons is now going to be the second starter. I don't know if I wonder if they made that decision after ECU decided not to go Norby. I wonder if that was a part of it for them or not. But they have to feel good about that when he's on the mound. And then since Josh left me VCU, it's funny you asked how much I've seen of VCU. I did see them in a live look against St. Joe's. This team, they can hit. They can hit a little bit. I saw them in person, like I just said. They know how to swing the bats. Jacob Lee, Michael Petit, Nick Flores, Dante DeFranco. They got some good hitters. They also led the A-10 in ERA this season. Starter Patrick Steets and reliever Zach Peters. I got to look at both of them. They're both really good arms, and they're both first team all conference arms in that conference. Redshirt freshman Dawson Newman's another really good weapon for him out of the bullpen. This is not an easy 4 seed at all. This is actually probably one of the tougher 4 seeds that they could have put in here, which just really piles it on for UNC. And I don't know what they did to deserve to get this kind of draw. It kind of feels like with the ECU thing, there was an easy way to make this lighter on North Carolina. Like they could have just sent ECU somewhere else. Like they felt kind of lazy. They played in a series already. Maybe they just swapped them with like Upstate or somebody else that hasn't played North Carolina yet. Would have made this a little bit lighter for them. Either way, it's a tough draw for UNC all the way around.
It is brutal for sure. And Jake, I will go to you first. Your winner, your runner-up out of Chapel Hill, sir.
Yeah, North Carolina, I think Josh talked about it a little bit. They're going to have to get their fans very riled up for this one to keep up with these Tennessee and ECU fans who they both travel really well. They're all really loud and obnoxious. They're going to be making a ton of noise all over the ballpark. They're going to have to get their fans going for a matchup between either of them. Of course, I'm going to pick Tennessee. Tennessee is going to come out. I don't think that's like a reach pick either. Like I think they're playing good at the right time. I'm going to go Tennessee winning. I was deciding between UNC and ECU as the runner-up, and I'm gonna lean on UNC. I was thinking ECU just because they're gonna have to use Norby at some point. If it's not in that second game, I like their chances, less. I guess if they're not going up against North Carolina in that second game where they get Norby, they're going to have to burn him at some point before the championship. So that's kind of why I'm going North Carolina. I wanted to get fun with it, but I just can't. I'm going Tennessee winner, North Carolina runner up.
I love what you're going for, though, because I think it makes so much sense. Josh, let's hear from JB, and then let's get yours.
JB is going with the obvious UNC winner, Tennessee runner-up. You have never seen someone cover their bases more than I'm about to with this pick or with this little dialogue here. For starters, I think I would love, for the record, I'd love Carolina to prove what I'm about to say wrong so badly. I think they're going to have the third rowdiest fan base at that regional this weekend, and that's not ridiculous to say, although Bosch Magic is a thing we have seen. I also am very scared of the thing I mentioned earlier. We were talking in the press box all week in Charlotte. Who cares if you win those ACC tournament games? We just want to see what some arms look like just so Forbes knows what he has to work with. And it took us from the third game, and finally we did see. And boy, it wasn't too pretty. You might see Matty Mateus and you might see Jackson Rose this weekend in the regional because they've been all right. They've been consistent throughout the year and the past couple years for Mateus. But I think, let's say UNC plays 4 games this weekend, which is probably more than likely. I think you see a combined 5, maybe 6 appearances from Caden Glauber and Walker McDuffie out of the pen because Forbes just abuses that and runs them into the ground. And DeCaro and Lynch and Boaz haven't been great recently either. I'm scared about what this pitching staff is going to do against the Tennessee offense. I think, gun to my head, if someone is sitting here right now with a gun pointed at my forehead and said, pick who's going to win the Chapel Hill Regional for your life, I think I actually would go Tennessee for that reason I said. That said, I can't not pick UNC. We've talked about this all year. I'm rooting so hard for those guys. That fan base deserves a trip to Omaha. That fan base deserves a national championship. Not just because it's my family that are a part of that fan base, but so many other people. The offense is really good. It's a great sum of their parts offense, and they know how to piece together good enough offensive showings to overcome if the pitching doesn't look really good. But I'm picking them and I'm pulling for them. But I'm putting on record I am terrified for one of the quote-unquote nation's best pitching staffs. I am terrified for what it could look like in a postseason environment where you're having to abuse those big bullpen arms.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. You're right. You took the major point that I wanted to make is about the tax that could be put on arms early and what that looks like when you get to the 31st and the 1st, if it comes to it. I don't know. This is again, like I said, far and away my toughest regional personally, but I'm going to take Tennessee, obviously, coming out on top of it all day. I think they do it over UNC, but I love what Jake said about hating that Norby might get burned early because I think now we've seen crazier things happen. I think Norby obviously needs to be careful with his health and with his arm right now, but we've seen crazier things happen than guys come out and throw on a day's rest or a couple innings, that kind of thing. But I don't think it happens. So I'm going to take the same as Jake and the inverse of you and JB, Tennessee, UNC.
As it should be.
As it should be. As it was written in February, as I believe you said, Josh. Jake, Would love it if you could chat us up about College Station, Josh, if you'll pull that up, because this regional as well, some intrigue there for sure. When we start talking about College Station, obviously you start at the top with Texas A&M, Jake, but then it gets interesting when you get into the USCs of the world, the Texas States of the world, the Lamars of the world. Something interesting to discuss for each and every one of these teams, Jake, and I'd love it if you could walk us through it.
Yeah, I'll just start at the top real quick. Texas A&M, after missing, they missed the tournament altogether last year, and here they are, they're back. They're hosting a regional again. Familiar territory for them for sure, but it's one that they missed after all the expectations that was thrown on them last year. They made it out of it, and they're hosting again. This pitching staff, though, we've talked about it a lot. It's been shaky pretty much all year long, especially in the rotation. And I don't know about Aiden Sims. I mean, he's been been injured lately. I haven't seen too much of an update on if anything's going on with him, but I'd imagine that they'd want to have their best arm against Lamar if they could. But on the offensive side, they're no joke. Obviously, they're also a little injured on the offensive side, but like Chris Kopian, Caden Sorrell, Gavin Grahovic, they got some other guys that are capable of doing some really special things at the plate. And then just moving on to USC, USC, they have some of the best arms in the country. And as much as we've been kind of hard on them all year, but this is still a really good team. This is a really quality baseball team. And, they could go into this regional on fire thinking that, they were counted out of the hosting conversation really early on after we started noticing the fact that they didn't have that many good wins. And they could go into this thinking they deserved a chance at least to be in that conversation and walk away with a win or two or three or however many, that they need. It wouldn't shock me if the arms could get it done for them. They would have a potential pitching decision to make, I guess. Do they try to save Mason Edwards for A&M? Do they just use their best guy at the beginning? I don't know. They also have Andrew Johnson. They could just use out of the bullpen if one of them gets into trouble early. But I'd like to see A&M do well. We haven't been the nicest to them at times this season. It'd be nice to see them perform well in this environment. And just a couple of small things for A&M and Lamar. The Texas State, not A&M. Texas State, them being selected in this spot in the show when they were, it might have just spelled the end for Mercer when this was announced. Like the locations were just kind of running. Then at that point, there was a couple that were pretty far travel spots for them. I think that was kind of written there whenever Texas State was announced that Mercer probably wasn't going to be. But this Texas State team, they've been hot. They can swing the bats a little bit. Lamar, they played A&M. They played A&M this year once already. It wasn't pretty. We didn't get their best arms. Chris Olivier and Travis Lutz are nasty, though. They could cause some problems for both A&M and whoever they would get in a second game, whether they win or lose that one. Both of those guys are going to give them a chance anytime they're on the mound. So I like Lamar. I think they might have a chance to go on a little bit of a run if those two guys, especially if they pitch well.
Could be interesting for sure. To answer one question, Jake, just recent reports from a quick search. Aiden Sims still probable but not confirmed for at some point this weekend. He's been playing catch, according to Coach Early. So still TBD for Aiden Sims for Texas A&M. Josh, wanted to go to you really quickly for just your thoughts, kind of 10,000-foot view on these teams. Jake did a great job of breaking down some teams, especially the ones at the top, A&M and USC, who we have talked about kind of ad nauseum this year. Ironically, Josh, one team I have come around on, Texas A&M. One team still a little sus on in USC.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I'm not even going to give Texas State the time of day to talk about them because they shouldn't be here, and I'm still salty about it. I'll talk about the other three, though. Lamar, I'll start off with. It's a really good pitching staff. This is a sneaky pitching regional. I know Texas A&M's offense is going to take a lot of the focus here, which they should. Rightfully so. But Lamar has a really, really good pitching staff and has dominated a lot of the Southland this year for sure. Travis Lutz at the top of the rotation's been really good, and Chris Olivier has been just as good for them. And for a while, both those guys have been phenomenal down the stretch, and I'm genuinely very curious to see how that looks against A&M and whether it be USC or that third team in this regional, and like how they can actually perform as compared to just, mid-major competition. Bullpen isn't the best in the world. The guy they go to the most, Hayden Stallings, has been kind of rough looking recently, but once you get beyond there, it's pretty solid. They've been using Travis Lutz out of the bullpen a little bit too, so I'll be curious to see how they tax him this weekend. I'll go a little quicker on the next two. USC, the offense is obviously the scary part about this. We've talked about it all year. It's nothing flashy whatsoever, except, they've been pretty decent at hitting the long ball, for being honest, but just don't get on base at the clip they need to be. They're punching out against Big Ten pitching, which kind of scares you for, the long run against this team. Jack Basir has been pretty good all year long. Like the Lopez brothers, Augie and Adrian, have been pretty solid too. But beyond that, it's nothing special. The pitching is very much where, if you're gonna hang your hat on something with USC, it's gonna be the pitching. Although Grant Govell hasn't been exactly phenomenal recently. Andrew Johnson out of the pen. Adam Troy, I've talked about him before. Great freshman arm, I love him. Gavin Lauritsen, I trust him a little bit. A&M is very fascinating because it is. You could argue the best. Oh no, you can't argue the best offense in the country. Georgia Tech exists, but it's a top 5 offense in the country for sure. Gavin Grahovic, Caden Sorrell, guys like Bear Harrison, freshmen like Jorian Wilson, Boston Kellner should be back. Partita, I actually don't know if he's going to be back or not. But
TBD.
Yeah, so regardless, so much firepower on that offense. Starting pitching staff is rough. It's questionable. Aiden Sims probably will be back. I know y'all mentioned it said TBD, but from everything I've seen, it's like trending towards that direction. Ethan Darden got the start for them last week, which I'm just not fond of in a starting spot anyways. And it was more of an opener role against Auburn, although I'm not sure that was the plan. It kind of just the results made it be that way. Don't know how that pitching staff is going to perform in a postseason environment per se, but I think these are the type of offenses you would want to be able to test some things out against. Like you can have some leeway against these offenses, especially with them being a step down from the SEC offenses you faced all year.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. We're going to see which steps they take, which knobs and things they turn and twist, adjusting as they can make selective mistakes at this point in the tournament. Josh, let's start with you. Go to JB as we select College Station.
I'm going to take A&M to win it with USC as my runner-up. Bluebell Park is going to be bumping after the year they had last year. This is a great spot for them to be back in. They're going to take advantage. That offense is so good that it's going to be able to overcome Lamar on Friday, overcome USC once they won't have to face Mason Edwards probably. I actually don't know how USC is going to play that. They might have to face them. That's TBD. Regardless, I think they're going to be good enough to overwhelm them and work their way. I would predict, I'll go on a limb here. I don't think they need a Monday. I think they don't lose a game in this series. I think they sweep through the regional. JB, A&M first, and that scumbag. He went with Texas State second. They're not going to do anything. They don't deserve to be here. They shouldn't be in the tournament. Justice for Mercer.
You should have taken Mercer with your second pick, Josh.
Oh, can I do that? That's actually a great pick. Oh, I might do that on the graphic.
Take Mercer?
Oh, wait, I might do that on the graphic. That's not a bad idea. I like the way your brain works.
Thank you. I said that to a guy earlier today.
He must be really handsome and smart. And
Jake, go ahead and make your pick and for your winner and runner-up.
Look, there's not a lot of spots in these tournaments where we can have just a ton of fun. I am gonna go A&M as the winner. I think the offense is going to be able to get it done here against these teams. They're going to out-hit all of them, I'm pretty sure. I'm going to go Lamar as the runner-up, though. I like Olivier and I like Lutz being able to get them a win in one of those first 2 games, and then after that they'll have some battling to do a little bit. But I mean, I think you got 2 front-end starters. That's what you really want. At least 2 of those heading into a regional. Give me Lamar as the runner-up.
I love it. Chalky Drew is chalk. I'll take A&M, USC in that order. Blow the bubbles. I think this is going to be a huge announcement. We're coming. We're coming for blood for Texas A&M. I think this is another team that, if you, I think they could have theoretically been seeded even higher than 12 with a little bit of squinting in my brain, at least. To me, I think that could have been the case. Yes. Let's talk Lincoln. Josh, I'm going to go to you because this is we were so close to calling this exactly correct. And yet somehow I don't think we missed on how dangerous and blood soaked this regional is going to be.
This is the most fun regional, right? It has to be. Like, I think it's pretty consensus. This is the most fun regional, and I'm so glad because we pegged it as the regional of death in our bracketology, and then it came true, and it's still the regional of death. Especially my mom and stepdad are in Nebraska this weekend because actually my stepdad's being inducted into the Omaha Sports Hall of Fame tomorrow, so shout out to him. They're going to one of the games in Lincoln this weekend, and I am so jealous because that place is going to be bumping. Those fans, when they are good at baseball, are so much fun, and Lincoln is such a good environment. I pray that they are in Omaha. Actually, wait, no, I don't. What am I saying? They have to go through Auburn. Never mind. Never mind. You can wait another year. I have fun letting another year. At some point, I want them to be back to Omaha, just not this year. Beside the point, this is such a fun regional. There's offense galore. There's some fun pitching matchups too. I mean, I'll get into that later. The pitching matchups on Friday are going to be a lot of fun. It's not going to be Carlone versus Townsend like we thought probably, but it probably will be Carlone versus Hunter Elliott, which is pretty fun too. For Nebraska, I think Ty Horn is probably the Friday move. I would trust any of their guys against South Dakota State, to be honest. So it doesn't really, it's like Sam Schlecht has been not great for South Dakota State, and that's their Friday guy. So I don't think it really matters. But the rest of the week, I'm looking so forward to this Arizona State offense and seeing how they perform against Nebraska and Ole Miss, seeing how Nebraska performs in that environment. They've had some bats that have been way better this year than we expected them to be. Case Sanderson and Dylan Carey in the middle of that lineup. You got Will Jeske in the DH spot. I hope not forgetting anybody relevant. Mac Moyer out in center. Just some really good guys that have just been a lot of fun to watch for them this year. And it's a way, way better rotation than we expected to. Carson Yasa has figured things out, not walking guys as much. It's still off the top of my head, I think it's like a 10, 11% clip maybe, which is better for him, granted. But he's still punching out guys. He's got such big stuff. Ty Horn's been a really reliable guy for them in the weekend. Gavin Blahovich too. Bullpen, not great. Good, not great. Deshaun Unger has been pretty good for them. Tucker Timmerman, that's kind of their two guys they go to the most. I'll wait till my actual pick to talk about Ole Miss more, but I'll just talk a little bit about Arizona State. Offense is so fun. Goes without saying. Landon Hairston, I don't need to say much about him. Nu'u Contreras, Dean Toigo, Dom Smaldino. Matthew Polk has been really good recently for them. It's a lot of fun. It gets thin after Cole Carlone, though, and that's what scares me about them. Cole Clicker and Colin Linder kind of picked things up recently a little bit, but it's like the bar is low. It hasn't been phenomenal for them all year. Taylor Penn is their go-to bullpen guy, and after that it gets thin quick, in my opinion. So I'm kind of concerned to see how they do against offenses like Ole Miss and Nebraska. But I think, obviously, Chapel Hill's the regional I'm looking the most forward to, but Lincoln's probably a close second.
Jake, you and Josh have done excellent this year with bracketology. When you made the mistake of bringing me into the fold, I know that our conversation about the Lincoln Regional in the most recent bracketology, we had it nailed, man. Other than Arkansas, you swapped them out for Ole Miss, and bada bing, bada boom. And yet, like Josh said, the region of death stands still, huh?
Yeah, it sure does, and wouldn't that would have been something if just to get our reactions on the stream if we would have just completely nailed this location perfectly. Um, but just a quick note about Nebraska. Carson Yasa, that's an early Josh guy, early on in the draft cycle. You called that you had that pretty early. You were really high on him, and probably one of the first ones of us to be as high on him as we are. But he's made himself known. He's lived up to that hype that I guess you put on him. But their bats, they have experience in their bats. You talked about Dylan Carey, Sanderson, Mac Moyer. They got the Big Ten Freshman of the Year, Dylan Grego, in that lineup as well. Really, really fun team on the Nebraska side. And then for Ole Miss, they're obviously good on the mound. Hunter Elliott, he's been there. He has experience. Has pitched well in the postseason in his career. And we know what Cade Townsend's capable of. That's a really, really tough 1-2 punch once you get into a regional. But on the offensive side, Will Furness, Judd Utermark, they've been good for most of the year for this Ole Miss offense, but they can't be the only ones to produce for them at the plate in this regional. Like Tristan Becerra, he's got to get back going for them if they're going to be able to make a run at this. Like he's got 20 homers on the year. He's only hit 1 home run in the last month. Like they played Georgia, Arkansas, A&M, Alabama in series to finish the season, and he's only got 1 home run in that stretch. And that's just a guy. It just feels like you want your good players to play well in these regionals, and for Becerra to be one of, if not the most talented bat on this team, arguably, like you need him to get going in these kinds of moments. Arizona State, obviously a really tough 3 seed. The RPI brought them down to a 3 seed, but we've been high on them all year. This team, Josh talked about it, they can really hit. Big 12 Player of the Year, Landon Hairston, probably my favorite nickname in the country, Harry Bonds, has just been phenomenal this season. They've scored the 3rd most runs in the Big 12. Cole Carlone versus Hunter Elliott. It's going to be so much fun in that first game. But I'm with Josh. I kind of feel the same way about their pitching depth. It's going to be interesting to see how they can hold up against some of these other teams. And then I'll talk quick about South Dakota State. They came out of nowhere in the Summit League tournament. They entered that tournament as the 4 seed behind Oral Roberts, Omaha, and Northern Colorado. They can swing it a little bit. I don't think their pitching is going to have the stuff to necessarily keep up. It's a tough place for a weaker mid-major pitching staff to go facing these 3 teams, but good on them for kind of coming out of nowhere and taking that tournament away from Oral Roberts, who's been in the lead of that conference basically since like week 1, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, hat tip to South Dakota State for sure. It's impressive for them to have made it here. You guys both made a lot of great points. Josh, I think the strongest point you made, I definitely agree that Arizona State's pitching gets thin so quickly. And I mean, yeah, we've seen, and I'll credit Cole Klecker specifically for having at least 2 very good games, very good performances out of him. Carlone kind of is the rudder for that pitching staff. With Ole Miss, Jake, you said a mouthful and you said 2 guys does not an offense make when we get to regional. You can steamroll some midweek. You can even bash, depending on how hot those 2 guys are, you can bash a couple of weekend games. It's a whole different animal. I mean, one guy going supernova, you can never count it out, but it just doesn't a successful team make. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. And this is me not even talking about Nebraska, who we have talked about all season long as being such a delightful team to watch and to see them kind of emerge and blossom. A lot of their guys at the same time this year has been a lot of fun. All right, Jake, we'll stick with you. Lincoln, who you got?
I didn't want to be the first one to pick here, but I'll do it. No. I'll make my pick. I'm going to pick Arizona State to win it.
Woo!
I'm going to pick them. I'm going to pick their bats to get hot. If there's a 3 seed in this tournament, and this, arguably, compared to the North Carolina one, maybe the toughest regional in the country right now. But Arizona State, they have the bats to do it. If one of those other arms that Josh talked about going after Carlone is good, I really like their chances. So give me Arizona State to win, and I think Nebraska comes in second. I have to see it from Ole Miss's offense. I can't predict that Hunter Elliott and Townsend's just going to automatically get wins if their team doesn't score runs for them. So I'm going to go Arizona State to win it. Nebraska is the runner-up.
Word. Josh, can you speak in a funny accent and do JB's picks?
I think he's going to take Nebraska to win the regional and Ole Miss to come in second.
Awesome. Thanks, JB.
That's all I got. I'm trying to think. I think he has a nasally-ish voice.
Jeez.
Kinda. I don't know.
JB's getting buried on this episode.
Then show up to a podcast for once in his life, and he won't get buried. How about that?
You're up.
Anyway, all right. This is a really interesting regional to pick because the 2 and 3 seeds are super trendy here. Ole Miss and Arizona State are very trendy to pick to win this thing. I'm going to take Nebraska to win because that offense has been so solid this year, and in front of that fired up crowd this weekend, I don't see how they can lose. I'll pick Arizona State as my runner-up because the offense is good enough to carry them through almost any pitching staff, but the bullpen gets so thin so quickly that I think it's going to end up biting them in Sunday and potentially Monday games. And it's also a super trendy upset pick. I don't want to take them all the way, although I do get it. Here's my thing with the rest. I do want to put this on record saying this gives me, ironically, Ole Miss was involved in both. This gives me very strong Oxford Regional last year vibes where the top 3 seeds are very, very trendy to pick, and it's like regional of death, Then the 4 seed just comes through and wins. Although South Dakota State's a little different than Murray State.
Yeah.
Because like Murray State, if I remember correctly last year, they beat Kentucky in a midweek. I think they had already beaten Western Kentucky in the year. There were signs there. South Dakota State, the best they got this year is, don't quote me on this. I think this is right. I think they beat Tarleton State in a series, which is still pretty impressive. But
impressive.
For your best series win on the year, I don't think it's going to be enough to take you through these 3 teams. My thing with Ole Miss, the pitching staff is undeniable. The 3 starters are really good. I would trust them against almost anybody. The bullpen is really solid. Hudson Calhoun, Walker Hooks, J.P. Robertson, lots of good arms there. The offense, though, really concerns me. It's so hot and cold, and just in general, once you get past the Tristan Becerra, Judd Utermark part of the lineup, what scares you? Nothing for me personally. I mean, like, Austin Foley can hit the long ball, sure. Hayden Federico has been pretty solid hitting for average this year. Same with Will Furnace, maybe. But overall, I don't think they can keep up. I don't think it's going to be as much of a, well, this is a stupid thing to say. Yes, it obviously is going to be them against other pitching staffs because that's how baseball works. But I don't think it's going to be as much them against other pitching staffs as it is them trying to keep up with the other offenses. And I don't think they can do it. So it's going to be a super trendy pick, I think, but I just don't know if they have the firepower and the consistency on a 3 to 4 day basis to keep up and not lose 2 games.
Yeah, I want to take Ole Miss here really badly just because I think this is a good point scoring opportunity to lean on that pitching. I don't think I can. Let me ask you guys this, just kind of off topic really quickly. If you could combine Arizona State's offense with Ole Miss's pitching, is that an Omaha shoe-in?
Oh, Lord, yes.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to ask like national championship winner, in which I would have to think about it.
Is that a national championship winner, Josh?
It is pretty close. It's like Ole Miss's pitching staff and Arizona State's bats are like a UCLA, Georgia Tech, Georgia-esque team.
Yeah, sure. It's yeah. Okay, I'm gonna take Arizona State. Oh man, I do not know what to do here. I probably need to take Ole Miss.
Yeah, we need them on the graphic.
Yeah, I'll go Arizona State, Ole Miss. Although, why am I letting you tell me what to do here? I think Nebraska. No, JB had Ole Miss as his runner-up as well.
Oh wait, did he?
That's what you said.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right. That's on me. Hand up. That's on me.
Either way, I think Ole Miss's pitching is just so good. I think Arizona State, the bats are just so hot. Now, what's that going to mean whenever because theoretically, we have to, I think we'll all agree. If Arizona State makes it out of this regional, it's been from just bat bashing teams over and over.
Absolutely.
And then once Negan walks out of Lincoln and into a place we'll talk about here in a minute, can they handle another pitching staff that might could shut them down? It's going to get tricky. It's going to get messy as we get to that. Josh, because it's your squad, I'll let you go out of order and lead us through Auburn. And then, Jake, I'll let you get 2 in a row here in a minute.
Well, where do I start?
Well, I think you start with the best team in the bracket, UCF.
Sure, I'll start with UCF.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's a sneaky, really good pitching staff that I think could give some fits to a team like Auburn, who's admittedly offense, we've talked about it ad nauseum constantly all year long. Super inconsistent, but it's gotten better recently for sure. Mateo Gray and Camden Wicker are a pretty dang good 1-2 punch, if I do say so myself. Not a super reliable third guy in that rotation, but I think that's Camden Wicker and Mateo Gray, when they're on, can work their way through almost any lineup. Granted, let's be honest, it's been a while since they've been on, and that's kind of the issue with UCF. People have starting to pick up on their stuff recently, and I think it's as easy as a scouting report that I think is the reason they're getting touched up a little bit. And against the team like NC State or Auburn, could come back to bite them a little bit too. Offense, Andrew Williamson, phenomenal guy that's tooled up for the draft. John Smith III has been pretty good for them this year too. Zach Skinner, that's really it. And that's kind of what gives you hope as an Auburn fan or an NC State fan, is that's really it. That's all you have to work through for the most part. NC State, fun story. We don't know if they should have gotten in or not, but they did, and that's what matters. Good for them. They're probably going to get Ryan Marone back this week, which is absolutely huge, because Heath Andrews and Cooper Consiglio have straight up not been cutting it for them on the mound. Luke Hemrick, not so much either. They need some help. They need Dudem back, and it's not going to happen. But having Marone back is just going to be a little thing that could, get them over the edge a little bit. Bullpen been rough too. The pitching staff as a whole has just been not super fill in the blank your word, reliable, good. I mean, let's just be honest, like Anderson Nance, Sam Harris have been about it for them. Everyone else beyond that has just been rough. But they have so much firepower on offense. Sherman Johnson, Chris McHugh, Ty Head. I can go on. Rhett Johnson, Mikey Ryan. They're so good on offense. They scored. Actually, you know what? The perfect embodiment of what could go right or wrong for this team. The one game I saw them in Charlotte this past weekend, they scored 12 runs. And it wasn't enough because they lost by 9. It's just so indicative of what this team can and can't be. Milwaukee. I know a lot of these guys from scouting against them in the Northwoods last summer. It's not a lot of flashy stuff, although Mason Weckler was actually on my team, and he was a starter, and he's like their top bullpen guy now, but he's, let's just be honest. Camden Kunke.
Shout your boy out, Josh, yeah.
Right. Riley Patterson. We played against him last year. It's just not the best pitching staff for sure. Offense is a little bit better, but it's like really nothing that you should be worried about. It's objectively, you're going to laugh when I say this, but it's true. Like, history backs me up on this. It's historically one of the worst teams to ever make the postseason, just purely. So I think they get the happy to be here award of the entire postseason. Auburn, I can talk about whatever you want me to talk about, but the offense is finally getting it back together a little
Can I
bit.
pick?
Go for it. Yeah, go for it.
Bub Terrell.
I knew you were going to say that.
How'd you know?
I know you too well. Bub Terrell. Bub Terrell is – I have to choose my words wisely here.
Awesome.
Bub Terrell is the epitome of the fan favorite player that a guy whose main job is to do draft analysis can't stand. He hits the long ball, and he makes flashy plays in the outfield, and has got one of the biggest, most fun personalities in the whole sport. But man, if he doesn't frustrate the heck out of you while doing it. I mean, like, you'll get some really rough games. Same thing from Eric Guevara. It's actually a very similar profile, except less flashy on defense and a little more pop. Pitching staff is very clearly the bright light on this team. It's very clearly there's any positive words you can think about. I'm losing my words. We're already an hour and a half into this thing. Led the country in walks per 9 until very recently, once they got taken over by, I think, A&M, actually. I've said it on this podcast like 5 times this year. I'll say it again. Butch has been preaching since August. This team just wants to throw strikes, and that's how we're going to win games. And they've done it at a almost historically good rate for this program. Ryan Hetzler over 70% strikes. I think all the starters are over 65% strikes this year, as well as guys like LJ Cormier out of the bullpen. Jackson Sanders, I don't think this is hyperbole because I've heard someone else say it too that's not an Auburn fan. Jackson Sanders has an argument for best long reliever in the entire country. He has just been lights out this year. I have so much faith in him against any lineup he faces, especially in this regional. Ryan Hetzler is great in the closer role sometimes. And this isn't as much of like a UNC thing where it's like just those top 2 guys, but really those are the 3 you're going to see most of the time. You'll see some Garrett Brewer. Depending if the game's out of hand, you'll see some Abe Chancellor, who that's like actually my guy. Shout out to him, sub-1 ERA, we always believed. You'll see some Christian Chatterton, who was big last year, but you might not need all of them because you can get length out of those 3 starters, and I think you will in this regional. I don't know who they're going to play on Saturday, but it might not matter because the pitching staff can overwhelm. And I think this Auburn offense could take advantage of a thin UCF bullpen and a weak NC State pitching staff regardless.
Yeah. The length that your Auburn rotation can give is going to be a dynamite advantage this team has in Josh. I think we'd be remiss not to mention that this is often a regional that has been picked on as being maybe a little bit easier.
Also, I just realized I talked for 6 minutes. I'm so sorry.
You know what? We'll make it up to you in a future one. Jake, anything you want to add? Obviously, man, we could talk about these teams. We could talk UCF, NC State, Milwaukee. Where do your eyes go to in Auburn?
Yeah, I won't take too much time. I mean, I don't think it's possible for me to take too much time because Josh pulled a me earlier and just stole all the talking points. But
that's my bad.
I have a few notes for all of them. For Auburn, I didn't prepare too much because I knew Josh was going to get them. But the way this team's pitched this year has just been so impressive. I'll just reiterate that. And I remember Josh talking in the preseason about how we were trying to figure out, what's this rotation going to look like? Who's going to be, the top bullpen arms, whatever. That this was maybe like the biggest question for this team coming into the season, just because you didn't know how it was going to all shake out. But and it didn't necessarily shake out the way that we kind of thought it would in the preseason. But it's been extremely impressive nonetheless. And then for UCF, I don't have too much else to add except for that Matt Saucer has been just an incredible loss for them. If they had Matt Saucer going into this regional, I would feel so much better about potentially taking them here. I just don't know that the depth is going to be able to carry them. But Saucer was so good. He was so good until he went down. So shout out him. And then for NC State, I'll talk about kind of the elephant with them. The Elliott A. Event retirement tour starts right now. Was it retirement pity that they got in? That's neither here nor there. They're not even a last 4N team, but which is kind of crazy. But anyways, they played a really strong ACC schedule despite a light non-conference. But and the resume might not be the strongest, but this team's going to be playing loose. They're playing with house money here a little bit with their coach retiring. They're another one that is happy to be here in a different way. And this isn't an unfamiliar environment for them. Obviously they were just here last year, and like Josh talked about, Ryan Marone being back, which is huge for them. I do kind of worry about their pitching depth as a whole, as that got a little bit exposed in the tournament. But they're going to be playing loose, and who knows what happens when a team gets takes all the worries out of their mind and can do kind of just whatever they want. And then real quick for Milwaukee, obviously according to most of the metrics, this is one of the weaker teams in the field, but they do have a solid top 4 hitters: Dylan O'Connell, Braden Horn, pair of double-digit homer guys, Dom Kibler, Charlie Marion. Gavin Thice is their top arm. He's an all-conference guy and all tournament award winner. Eric Imke, they both put up pretty solid numbers at the top end of that rotation. But I think they just get matched pretty quickly when you look at the competition they're going to be going against.
Jake, set me odds. What are the odds that Milwaukee upsets Auburn on Friday?
Oh, that's going to be some big odds. What are the actual odds? I feel like Josh is looking it up right now. He just made a face.
I'm pulling it up right now.
I mean, if they have game odds out,
they do.
Let's get it, Josh. What is it?
Just tell us. I was going to set it at about 1,000, I think.
Auburn, that's good. Auburn is minus 1950 to win that game.
You said you were going to set it at over 1,000, Jake?
Like plus 1,000 for Milwaukee to win. That's what I was going to say.
You were right on the money, man. Right on the money. All right, Jake. Let's stick with you then. Make these predictions for the Auburn regional, sir.
Yeah, I mean this kind of feels like a weaker one, despite having a couple of power conference teams in it. I'm going to take Auburn. I think Auburn probably just wins 3 games in a row here and moves on. I'll take the runner-up NC State because we just know it's going to happen. They can't walk away with nothing here. NC State's going to be the runner-up.
Josh, who's going to finish as the runner-up here?
NC State. Elliot Avent gets to go out on a Sunday or a Monday. No, I'll be bold. He gets to go out on a Sunday night.
It's a Sunday night, Josh. Come on. It's a Sunday night. He looks around Plainsman with tears in his eyes, waves goodbye, and disappears into the dugout.
And the ghost of Josh Catlett gets to wave him goodbye as we host Nebraska the next week. And then my current household that I'm in gets split in half between a Nebraska and Auburn super regional. So that'll be fun. And then, if all things go well, my other household gets to be split in Omaha in the first game if they both were connected there. So what a fun family affair I could have coming my way.
You're right. It is going to be crazy whenever Arizona State makes it to Auburn for that super regional. It's going to be crazy. JB's selections were what?
I assume it's Auburn 1, UCF 2.
UCF, okay. I wanted to take NC State here as my runner up. No, I'll take UCF. I won't let JB roll solo on UCF. Also, Big 12 enjoyer picks a Big 12 team. Who'd have thunk it? Jake, you are up to walk us through Atlanta, city whose streets I have walked a great majority of my days, and I've had a good time doing it. Atlanta's going to have a lot of fun going on in the upcoming weekend, though, as Georgia Tech looks to lay the smackdown on a couple of teams. Arguably, I think some could make a very fair point. I was trying to do it during bracketology that Georgia Tech should be our number 1 overall national seed, and yet number 2 is pretty good.
Yeah, it sure is, and they did have an argument. I think I had seen it, and I don't think you were the first person that I saw say that Georgia Tech should have been could have stolen that number 1 seed. But the draw here, it's kind of light overall, but they earned it. They earned a lighter draw teams the way that they've played this year. They had 5 first-team All-ACC team members. Von Lackey got the Defensive Player of the Year. He's been really good behind the plate for them, and that also doesn't even include Kent Schmidt, who had a really good ACC tournament. Just James Ramsey, he's just done a phenomenal job this year, living up to the expectations that were kind of put on this team in the preseason. They had some big-time players come in, and they were kind of thrown these lofty expectations in the preseason that this offense was going to be maybe the best offense in the country, and like all that kind of stuff that was thrown at them before the season started. And Coach Ramsey's really lived up to that hype, and he's done just a great job at that. Quickly though, for Oklahoma, the way I see this for Oklahoma is if one of their arms, that being Mercurius or Cam Johnson, we've seen them both pitch really good and really bad at times this year, but if one of those guys or both of them has a good day in their first and second games, that this could make for a really fun Saturday game if both Oklahoma and Georgia Tech makes it there, with them being likely matched up with Tate McKee in that second game. But this offense for Oklahoma is going to have to show up in that one, obviously, if they're going to be able to compete with Georgia Tech. Deaton LaChance, Deshaun Harris, Camden Johnson. They, again, like I talked about with Ole Miss, you have to have more than 2 or 3 guys doing damage on the offensive side of the ball especially if you're going to go into this environment and hit with Georgia Tech. Citadel, they're on fire right now. We might all be secretly rooting for Citadel in honor of Mercer being that SoCon team that got in instead. But Michael Gibson's legit. He's hitting nearly 400 on the year. He also pitches, by the way. He's also a really good pitcher. But the Citadel, they're a big running team. They have multiple guys in the double digits in stolen bases. Will Holmes, Andrew Buffkin, a couple solid starters in that rotation. They're a good team, and they're playing really good ball right now. Last note I'll make is for USC. We just kind of talked about it, but the last Missouri Valley team to go into a regional that Georgia Tech was in was Murray State, and that worked out pretty well for them last year. But USC, they're not a bad 4 seed at all. Mason Lay has pitched well this year for them. They got some pretty strong power threats: Ashton Kampa, Thomas Curry, Jake Bussin. This is not just a pushover 4 seed team. They earned that Missouri Valley title, and they're not just going to lay down for Georgia Tech by any means.
Certainly not going to be a Hogan and Nash situation from 1999. Josh, curious what you're thinking here, because I think a lot of people are going to look at this bracket and say, pish posh, sweep, here we go, Georgia Tech in 3. There are some interesting teams on the other side of this.
Yeah, I was going to just defer my talking to my pick, since I took 6 minutes in the last one, and just say
you may do that.
This is Georgia Tech's world, and we're just living in it. And I'll harp a little bit on my runner-up team when we get there.
Well, you go ahead and lead us off then. So I assume you're taking GT to win the regional, and then you're runner-up.
After watching what Georgia Tech did this weekend to 3 teams in Charlotte, it's just I can't fathom anyone stopping that offense twice in 1 weekend or 1 week. My runner-up, I am going to take the Citadel because Jake apparently was going to do the same thing. I see his face. They're red hot right now. And the offense hasn't even been that great all year long, but they've recently started to catch fire. And it's because of the guys that Jake just mentioned. Michael Gibson has been really, really good for them. Guys like Zach Hunt, Lane Tobin's a pretty good leadoff guy, can swipe a bag or 2 for you. The starters, I'm very interested to see. They've been using Andrew Buffkin in a starter role and out of the bullpen a little bit recently, so I'm curious to see how they go about that. Will Holmes has been a great starter for them. He looked really good against Samford. I think this team can hold their own against Oklahoma. The offense, if they can keep up what they've been doing recently, it'll look good, but if they revert back to kind of how they have been all year, maybe not so much. The pitching staff isn't exactly the flashiest thing. They've been accused of getting some good luck. Some advanced metrics don't really love them too much, but I think they can take advantage of an Oklahoma lineup that's a little bit depleted. And after guys like Camden Johnson, Deaton LaChance, it's really not too hot. Trey Gamble's pretty solid too, but at the bottom of that lineup, we've talked about it all year long, it gets thin pretty quickly and nothing really scares you. So I think if they could overwhelm an offense like Mercer, and they can overwhelm an offense like, actually, I don't think they played Western Carolina, but if they can beat those offenses that have been red hot all year long, why not be able to take UIC or Oklahoma too?
Yeah. Hey, I like it. It appears as if you have snaked both Jake and I. Citadel coming in was one of the only locks on you on my entire board. JB, I'm assuming, is going to join you in taking Georgia Tech, who says runner-up.
Yeah, but he's got Oklahoma, so it's not as across the board for all of us, luckily.
Very good, very good. Jake, your selection, sir?
Yeah, I wasn't going to be too shy about going Georgia Tech Citadel, just because I'm fine with Citadel. I'll be fine with all 4 of us taking Citadel. They're the they're the resident SoCon team. There should be 2 SoCon teams, and that's not me just saying that just out of spite. I mean, I would probably take Citadel in the situation anyways, but like I mentioned earlier, in honor of Mercer being left out, I will be taking the Citadel as the runner-up.
Make it 3, folks. Georgia Tech Citadel. That's pretty lock for me. Jake, going to stick with you since we let Josh do 2 in a row a second ago. We're going to let you run us through Lawrence, another crowd who is going to be electric, hosting a regional. Kansas has looked pretty stupid good. The Bats have been very much a rising tide lifts all ships kind of offense for this team. The Jayhawks have really, I guess preseason we thought that it was going to be a Brady Ballinger-led show, but Tyson LeBlanc has been just insane this season, really coming around. And Jake, I'm curious, these Jayhawks are going to have another offensive-minded region, I think is probably the safest way to describe this group in Lawrence, right?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, this is a really strong regional from top to bottom, and I'm going to do my best to not take all of the points here. But Kansas, they're hosting a regional for the first time ever, and the fact that the Big 12 again, this was the spot where we were like, well, not necessarily the spot when we started seeing Kansas fall down the board. In terms of the seeding, like we started realizing that there's just no respect for the Big 12 that was going to happen. Them being the 15 seed is crazy. I think we were on our last bracketology. We were debating on if they should even get one of the top 8 at some point. Like, I mean, we were really high on them. I don't think we were the only ones to feel that way. And the fact that they are the 15 feels very disrespectful for them. Going into this regional, Dom Bagley, he was good. He was really good in the Big 12 tournament. He's going to need to be good again. These offenses are not going to be any joke, whether they use them against Northeastern, which I think it might be wise of them to do. He's going to have to be good in whatever game that he pitches in. And then you talked about Tyson LeBlanc, and they got guys, Josh Dykoff, Cade Baldridge have been great for them this year. We know the potential for Brady Ballinger to get going. That guy's got all the tools in the world. If he gets going, that's just going to make another weapon. But this Kansas team, they score runs. They score runs quick, fast, in a hurry, whatever way you want to put it. They know how to put runs on the board. Moving on, though, for Arkansas, there was obviously a big argument for them to host. No Kahio Aloy is a bummer to an offense that's been performing well recently, but on the season as a whole, they kind of haven't. But here recently, obviously in the tournament, they got going, but unfortunately weren't able to earn that hosting bid. Missouri State, them being a 3 seed feels, again, a little bit disrespectful, kind of like I thought Kansas should be rated a little higher. I think Missouri State had a solid argument for potentially being a 2, but this team can really hit. They got over 100 home runs on the season. Logan Fife, Curry Sutherland has been really good. We know, again, like the potential of Brady Ballinger. We know the potential of Caden Bogenpaul if he gets going. Shout out Drew's preseason mid-major player of the year. I'm pretty sure he took Caden Bogenpaul in that. But just on the mound, it's just where they haven't really been consistent. Brock Lucas, Ethan Schaff have had some moments, but no one's really taken hold of like that ace role on this staff. And then really quickly for Northeastern, this is not an easy 4 seed. This was a top 25-ish team last year. They did lose a lot of guys, but this is never an easy team to face in the postseason. They got hot down the stretch this year. The CAA was kind of Campbell's to lose, and they came in and took it from them. They won that tournament on a walk-off single, Ryan Garrity. But they got their guys like Tyler Harmony, the veteran guy that's been there for a while now, Harrison Feinberg, ace pitcher Luke Rising leading the way on the mound. They've been good on the road this year too, and I would never completely count out Northeastern in the postseason, as they can always be dangerous.
They certainly can. It is such a stacked regional for sure. And Josh, I'm curious your thoughts. Looking at Lawrence, what catches your eye, sir?
Jake and I are going band for band on who can take the most talking points before the other one speaks, and it's awesome.
I tried to leave you some. I tried to leave you some things for Arkansas. I left a little bit on the table there for them, I think.
Yeah, I'll talk about Arkansas then. I think that this is not necessarily the best offense out of the SEC that you would necessarily expect, especially with Kahio Aloy leaving. That leaves a little juice to be desired in that lineup for sure. But if we're talking juice, Ryder Helfrich, Cam Kojal, TJ Pompey, they're all still there. Damian Ruiz at the top of the lineup. Been really good, gets on base at a pretty high clip for them this year. I'm not really worried on that front. Pitching staff, not really either. It's a great bullpen. I mean, great bullpen, at least at the top. Parker Coyle, Ethan McIlvain, Steele Eves, really solid. I think with Arkansas, I am just curious, just straight up curious how they manipulate this pitching staff this weekend, because they've tried out a few different things. I think you can make an argument. A lot of people would say Hunter Dietz at this point, but I think Gabe Gackle could still be the most talented arm in this staff. And I'm not even sure how they use him. They've started him some recently. They started him at the beginning of the year, and then they went into a bullpen role for him. Now they're kind of back into a bullpen role in which he dominates. I've been a big fan all year of the Hunter Dietz, Gabe Gackle, Ethan McIlvain piggyback they would do on game ones. I think that's more of a regular season thing. I don't think that lasts in the postseason, because you're kind of just trying to solidify you win one game in the series for sure when you do that. And you got to stretch those guys out over a weekend now. You got to win 3-4 games. So that's just something to keep an eye out for. Don't sleep on Northeastern, folks. This is, in general, the region of offense. This is just, I said it in the reaction show immediately. Talk about offense, talk about rabid fan bases, talk about baseball fan bases. It's a ton of them. There's history here with Missouri State Northeastern. These are baseball brands. And it's been a down year for Northeastern for sure. But they're back, and they got their way. I mean, they got hot at the right time, and they found their way back into the postseason like we expected them to. Harrison Feinberg was great last year. He's been really good again. Guys like Carmelo Musakia were not great this year, but it's someone that has been here before. Will Fosberg as well. Ryan Garrity. It's guys that you would trust in a spot like this for sure. And I think the rotation really isn't that bad either. Luke Rising has been pretty solid for them. Ryan Griffin, not terrible either. I'm blanking on what's their other starter's name? Robbie O'Connor. It's not the best mid-major staff in the country for sure, but it's certainly doable. And they've got a pretty solid top of the bullpen too. Andrew Wirtz has been lights out recently, if I remember correctly. I trust this team to make a little noise in this regional for sure. I think the name brands of, ironically enough, like, is it crazy to say, this is going to sound weird, but I'm going to try and relay what I'm trying to say. Is Kansas fourth place in terms of baseball brands in this regional?
I think it's very arguable.
I think so, which is crazy to say. So, I mean, anything can happen. There's a lot of experience here. I trust, like, Missouri State, Caden Bogenpool, Curry Sutherland, just to name a couple. Logan Fife has been good this year. I trust that offense a lot, too. This is a fun one, too. That's going to be a fun one that you're going to want to turn the sound on to your TV for, too, because it's going to be a ruckus crowd.
It is going to be a ruckus crowd there. Logan Fife is a name I'm glad you brought up. I had him circled to mention. And then when we talk about Kansas, a guy that hasn't really gotten a lot of national acclaim is Jordan Bach, leading that team off. Has been so good. Underrated talent across the diamond. Now that's not only in the outfield, on the base paths, brings a little power, a lot of discipline at the top of the order, gets on, and that allows your guys to drive him in. Augusto Mungarieta, we also did not mention, from Kansas, who has been just an absolute slugger. Second on the team, tied with Josh Dykoff from the catcher position with 15 home runs for Kansas. Mungarieta also, we have learned recently, has a bit of a penchant for massive bat flips at the opposing dugout. So that's going to be fun if he does that in a certain situation. It's going to be fun stuff, I think. So shout out Kansas. All right, Josh, we'll start with you. Lawrence, winner and runner-up.
I've gone back and forth on this so many times. I think I've had like 5 different combos of results in my head, but I've landed on one. If I'm going to be that indecisive, let's get fun.
Oh boy.
My winner, not terribly fun. I think it's actually a super trendy upset pick. I'm going Arkansas. I'm going to trust the SEC against the mid-majors here and a Big 12 team that good, not great, and I think they can take advantage of Kansas's pitching. My runner-up is Northeastern because I can't decide which other big offense I want to take here, and I want to take a 4th seed somewhere. Might not be my last. That's a sneak peek.
Ooh.
I want to take a 4th seed somewhere, and this is a fun place to do it. I think that pitching staff is going to be able to do well enough against some of these high-flying offenses, and I think the top of their lineup at least. Now, granted, like you can look up the stats. Actually, I'll pull it up real quick to see if I can back myself up here. If you look at the way the lineup is typically constructed, it is the most obvious in the world. You have 4 really good bats, and then it just drops off so fast. But the 4 bats are good enough that it could. Yeah, okay, it's exactly what I said. It's the top 4 bats have an OPS over 900, and then after that, no one's above 800. So that's scary for sure. But if the pitching staff can hold their own enough and those top 4 bats can come through like they're expected to, and some of the veterans in the bottom of that lineup who have been here before can step it back up a little bit, I think they'll be just fine. So that's my fun little 4-seed upset.
How about JB, Josh? What does he got on the docket here?
He has Arkansas 1, Kansas 2. So, which is honestly, I can look up the odds too. I'm pretty sure that's like, I think Arkansas is the favorite to win this regional. I'm pretty sure it's like almost chalk, which sounds weird. Yeah, Arkansas is the favorite in Vegas to win this regional. So that's how trendy of an upset pick it is.
Quite trendy. Jake, let's go to you. Lawrence, who's coming out on top here, you think?
Yeah, I mean, I've been going all over the place with this one like Josh was, but I'm really glad he got Northeastern because I didn't want there to be a risk of them not being on this anywhere. In a regional of offense that we've kind of picked this one as, I think I'm just gonna have to just go with my favorite offense out of the group. If this is going to be a slugfest from top to bottom, I'm going to have to go with Kansas's offense. They've been playing at home. They've been hitting the ball at home at crazy rates. I think if this turns into every game is 15 runs or more, which I don't think we could be shocked if that's what it turns into. I'm going to have to go with Kansas to outlast all the other 3. For my second team, this doesn't feel like one I need to go chalk in, but I think I'm just going to go with Arkansas as a runner-up here. I wanted to go Missouri State. The pitching worries me for Missouri State. I also really do like Northeastern, as I talked about earlier, and Josh made all the other points about them as well. But I'm just going to have to go Arkansas. They're hot right now. I don't think that one loss in the championship game there is going to cool them off enough for me to not pick them as the second team here. So I'm going Kansas winner, Arkansas runner-up.
Jake, you took mine exactly. I think that's pretty well how I see it going. It's odd. I think, like you guys have alluded to, in such an offensive environment, to not have Missouri State show up on our graphic is a little odd.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes, I guess. Kansas, the best point you made, buddy, was that Kansas has been doing all of this at home, and they're going to keep doing it at home. I think they know the park. I don't see a world in them stopping here. And now, granted, this is going against Arkansas, who have been hot and whose pitching is, I think, pretty far and away the best pitching staff in this regional, and by a pretty wide margin. That said, anytime I pick the big pitching team over the big hitting team this year, it has done me wrong. So I'm going to go with Kansas and lick my wounds from the rest of the season. All right, Jake, I'll have you walk us through Tallahassee. If you wanted to start in that one, obviously you may do so with a pitching staff you have discussed often this year.
I talked about them. I don't think I've talked too much about them here recently, but they were one of my favorites going into the year. this Florida State pitching staff. They got the ACC pitcher of the year and Wes Mendez. I believe that's another Josh guy that he called pretty early on with Wes Mendez. And they also got one of my guys in Trey Beard following him up. I mean, that's I still believe, Beard hasn't pitched as well as I probably hyped him up to pitch in preseason, but like he's still a really good pitcher, and I still trust him going out there in a second game, following up Mendez there, Mendez. And then the outfield duo, Braden Dowd, friend of the pod, and John Stutzer. They got plenty of other guys that are, and this just kind of feels like Florida State is just the favorites heading into this regional from the outside looking in. And then going into Coastal, they're still kind of just sputtering a little bit. Like Cam Flukie, I don't think he's pitched to his fullest potential yet necessarily since he's returned from injury. I don't know that he's fully back to form completely. And I think we talked about it a little bit when he first started, bouncing back. Like his ramp up outings are like important games. Like he was ramping up like in games towards the end of the regular season, going into like the tournament was probably another one that was only like his third or fourth start back or something in that tournament game. It just doesn't feel like he's pitched to his fullest potential yet. But they could also, this Coastal team, they could also just turn it on in the postseason. We saw them do it. We've seen them do it on multiple occasions. Obviously last year they did it. It's like, I wouldn't be shocked if this team figured out a way to get going. Northern Illinois, they're not necessarily the strongest 3 seed, but they've played well in a stronger MAC than we've seen in a while. They do have an ace, Max. I think it's Five Vila is how you pronounce his name. Sorry about that, but they can hit for average. They got power guys like Cole Smith, Caden Robertson, Gavin Baldwin providing the thump there. But they're going to have to really get going to get past both Coastal and Florida State here. And then quickly on St. John's, I don't want to take everything here, but St. John's is a tough 4 seed. They're a sleeper to win a game or two, or maybe more. They play in a good conference and they won it. I think they beat all the other top teams in that conference in the regular season. Obviously, won the tournament there. They're a solid team on the mound and with the bats. Adam Agresti, John LaGrande, Sean McMillan. They got other guys like Luis Rodriguez. They're all really solid bats, and they also got an ace in Liam O'Leary. He's pitched 100 innings this season for St. John's with a 2.97 ERA. I would say that is pretty good.
I will agree. I will put the hashtag pretty good on that. Jake, 2 things. Number 1, shout out Jake's dog. What's up? His podcast debut, I believe, or one of his first couple of appearances. Second, Jake, game time. It's been a while since we've had time for a game, but why not since we're at 2 hours in?
2:07 in. Let's go.
2:07 in. It's game time. Jake, I'm going to go to you first before I go to Josh. I need you to tell me what has Cam Flukie's longest outing been in 2026 in innings pitched, please. Don't either of you cheat either.
Yeah, I'm not going to look it up. I assume you're asking this question because it's lower than we think. 6? I mean, if it's that low, is he going more than 6?
Josh?
I'm going to say I'll play well, no, this isn't Price is Right rules. I'm going to play the smart game, and I'm going to say 5 2/3 because I'm right below Jake.
It is 5 2/3. So I will say this as well. 5 2/3 from Flukie was in his first start of the year on the 13th against Fairfield. Did not pitch again until April 26th.
Mm-hmm.
And since then has totaled, you ready for this? 14 innings.
Yep.
Which means on the year we have seen about 20 innings pitched from Cam Flukie. I think that, and now granted, let's say this. It's been 2 innings, 2 1/3, 2 2/3, then 2 4-inning starts on the 15th and the 21st. If you're going to have it, this is when you need it from Flukie. We need 5 strong innings out of him. And I mean, again, Jake, you said NIU is not the strongest 3, but right now Coastal sure ain't the strongest 2. So I think that's going to be kind of a deceptively interesting matchup. Josh, I want to go to you here to talk about this regional, because I think in a lot of people's eyes, it's kind of just Florida State's to win.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned something about Fluky, because I'll use this as a shameless plug for something that I put out today, but it ties in. On Twitter today, I posted my updated top 100 draft prospects before the postseason. Got a lot of engagement, good and bad. One of the things that someone quote tweeted it with was just a Coastal fan mentioning that I have Cam Fluky still in my top 10 overall, although he's only pitched 20 innings this year. That just goes to show you how highly I still think of Cam Fluky and what he can be. It could be enough to single-handedly win them a game here. I just don't know if it will with his current state of his injury and just that offense and staff as a whole. I know y'all like when I'm blunt. Drew loves when I'm blunt on here. I see it in his face and I hear it in his laugh. So I'll say it again, the same thing that I said on the bracket reveal. What an organizational failure for Florida State if they don't come out of this regional. I truly mean that. I mean, Coastal is ice cold. I don't care about how well they did last year and the championship pedigree or whatever. I couldn't care less. It's not the same team. Northern Iowa, they're not a slouch for sure, but they're a weaker 3 seed very clearly. I don't think that's really any debate. I just don't see with the Animals of Section B down there with all their chants. I don't see how you don't come out of this thing alive. I don't think we can really. I don't want to downplay Northern Illinois too much, because something I want to point out. We talked all year about potential 2-bid MAC, right? That being Miami, Ohio, and Kent State. Northern Illinois beat both of them in a series this year. So we were just kind of overlooking Northern Illinois the whole time and just didn't realize it. And they finished third in that conference. So they're pretty good. Like it's not the greatest.
They're very much the girl who you take the glasses off and remove the ponytail holder in the movie. She shakes her hair out and all of a sudden you realize, oh my gosh, it's been Jennifer Garner the whole time.
What a phenomenal comp. I feel like I'm listening to a Bill Simmons podcast with that analogy. That was just beautiful right there.
Oh,
it's accurate too. Northern Illinois' pitching staff is pretty good. They don't walk a lot of guys. They have some decent starters. Jake mentioned one of them, Max Vive. I still can't pronounce it, but Jake said it and it sounded the correct way, but this little southern accent can't do French. So I'm just not even going to try. It's a solid bullpen too. Cooper Cone has been pretty good for them recently. Kind of thins out pretty quickly after that, but you can get some reliable innings here and there. I think we need to talk about St. John's a little bit, though, because we have been – how do I put this? We have been at the head of St. John's erasure all year without even meaning to be, because they have been in a 4-way battle for the Big East all year, and they beat the other 3 teams in a series that they were fighting with. And we just kept saying over and over again, yeah, but I still think they're the 4th best of that group. All the advanced metrics were telling you they were the 4th best of that group. And we kept predicting it. And then they won the regular season. Then we didn't pick them to win the conference tournament. And what did they do? They won the conference tournament. They just keep proving us wrong time and time again. I think it's indicative of how good that team can be. The pitching staff is truly the strength here. Like Jake mentioned, Liam O'Leary, Evan Chaff has been pretty solid for them too. Out of the bullpen, Jack Nestler is their main guy. I think those guys can work their way out of a loser's bracket at least. I obviously don't think they're going to beat Florida State in game 1 probably, but I think they could work their way into a fun spot in here, into a Sunday night game or maybe even a Monday game if they get lucky. But just in general, yes, going back to what I said initially, this should be Florida State's to lose. I don't really see how it's not. There's nothing that scares me about Coastal as a 2 seed. And if you're really about it, if you really think that you can make it to Omaha, you better not get picked off here.
There you go. Lead us off with JB then, Josh.
JB, chalk, boring. Florida State 1, Coastal 2. He's Can't even be here for the pod. Can't give us spicy picks. What does he add to this? Truly, I think he only takes away. He doesn't add from this podcast.
He adds California flair.
He adds talking points when we get to keep bringing him up without being here. That's what the kids these days would call aura, I think, and I don't like it very much.
It is what the kids call aura.
I'm not very fond of that. He doesn't deserve that. I don't think I've ever heard Drew laugh that hard.
That's so stupid.
I'm now doing the thing where I'm laughing at someone else's laugh.
Your picks. Oh, pick, Josh.
All right, Florida State's gonna win, and I am gonna take St. John's to come out of this. This is my other 4 seed. They're gonna be the runner-up here. I trust that pitching staff enough to be able to work their way through Northern Illinois and Coastal's lineups. So give me St. John's as the runner-up. Drew, you have to compose yourself. You have to host this thing.
Jake,
real quick. We're 2 hours and 15 minutes into this. I'll make just a little joke. Josh misspoke earlier and called Northern Illinois Northern Iowa. So shout out the Northern Iowa Panthers.
Look,
they're really good. I'm doing it as I'm doing a little bit of research here. They actually have a solid FCS football team. They've been to the FCS playoffs 22 times. Like
I get basketball. It says they beat UNC when I was like young in March Madness. I'm pretty sure, and I get PTSD from them too. That's why they're always on my mind.
But shout out the Panthers of Northern Iowa. But they're not in this regional. But I wish I would have gotten to go. I kind of wish I would have gotten to go first because I was going to go Florida State, St. John's. Honestly, and that I'm gonna also take them. I can't count on Coastal just making a complete 180 and turning things around. And if there's a sneaky 4 seed in this tournament, to the St. John's is arguably maybe the second best team right now in terms of how everybody's playing in this regional. So I'll go the Johnnies as the runner up.
I apologize to you all at home. My wife just texted and said, "What are you crying about?" I said, I'm laughing. I'll take Florida State and NIU. I think that, as you call them, Josh, Northern Iowa. I'll take them. No, I think Northern Illinois. This is it's a deceptive team, and I think we can spice up the graphic a little bit by diversifying our interests there. Whew, yes, JB, the aura farmer from afar, got me so good. That was hysterical. Oh man,
I'll be here all week.
There have been some all-time bangers amidst this 2.5-hour podcast. If you've made it this far, drop us a comment down below. All right, Josh, Tuscaloosa. I know how much you love teams from Alabama. Here's another team from Alabama.
How about 2 of them?
How about?
Where do I start in this regional?
Alabama State, of course.
All right. Well, Jake's dog just told me to start with USC Upstate, so I think I'm going to do that.
That makes sense, yeah.
It's a good offense. I don't know how much I don't know how far it's going to take them, but they've done pretty well in the Big South this year among High Point, who was going to be considered a tough 3 seed if they made it into this tournament and passed the conference tournament. But you know what? As we have learned the hard way, if you're not in one of the top 7 conferences in this country, you're not getting an at-large bid if you don't win the conference tournament. Sorry, it's just the truth. They learned that the hard way, but USC Upstate is a worthy 3 seed, I think. And it's mostly like a sum of their own parts kind of offense. They might have some how do I put this? They might struggle against power conference pitching a little bit because I'm pretty sure they've had some strikeout issues this year against Big South competition, but they can manufacture runs in fascinating ways. And I think that they could pick off a game or 2. It wouldn't totally shock me. Let's see. I'll talk about Bama State a little bit too. Bama State, not not one of the better 4 seeds for sure. Came out of the SWAC, which we thought was going to be Bethune for sure all year long. I'm very sad we didn't get the Bethune to Florida State thing, but
Yeah.
maybe next year. It always happens at some point. They got some good offensive guys. Miguel Oropeza. Wow, did you just hear that Spanish action I almost tried to do?
You did, yeah.
It was accidental. The Southern boy can't do French, but he can do Spanish apparently. I guess. Jeez.
See,
Yeah, CC. Johan LeBoy has been pretty good for them on Fridays, but it's not going to be enough in this regional. I think the top 2 teams is really who's going to be duking it out here, and it's pitching against offense. That's as blatant as it gets. Bama's got a pretty good pitching staff, I will say. Tyler Fay, Zane Adams, Miles Upchurch have been pretty consistent for them this year. Out of the bullpen, Ashton Crowther, Matthew Heiberger. Let me think here. Hagen Banks has been pretty good. Sam Mitchell. All those guys you're going to see this upcoming weekend for sure. And they can take advantage of the other offenses in this regional, but I'm not sure they can take advantage of Oklahoma State. That's the thing. Oklahoma State is one of the best offenses in this entire country. They are second in the nation in home runs, led by Colin Ritchie, who this year has, I think he's up to 28, 29 home runs, something like that. Gaudy number, regardless. Super high-flying offense, but they are the epitome of the offense that's like, we're going to hit home runs, and if we don't, we're going to strike out. It's like a 3 true outcomes type of offense, it really feels like, which you don't get over the course of 9 guys very often, but it almost feels that way sometimes. Guys like, Campbell Smithwick, I don't think has been the worst at striking out this year. That could be very wrong, and it just comes back to bite me. I know for a fact my boy Alex Conover hasn't. Last time I checked, Alex Conover has more walks than strikeouts. This late in the season, that's very impressive still.
Highly impressive.
I've been high on him for a while. People started to fall back on him a little bit. I stayed firm, and he has an above 1,100 OPS right now. Love to see that. Adam Miola, Colin Ritchie, I already mentioned. And Garrett Scholl doing decent again, and more of a DH spot, not really playing the field anymore. Yeah. I think this is an offense that could potentially carry them through this regional. And I have to shout out Ethan Lund and Hudson Barrett's a really good 1-2 combo. A couple of my boys from Fond du Lac last summer are getting some real run here. Stormy Rhodes has turned into the Sunday guy.
Sure has.
He was great for us last summer. Noah Weck was the best arm that we had on the team last year besides Ethan Cole, who got drafted. And Noah Weck has become the number 1 bullpen guy for Oklahoma State. So shout out to him. If those 2 guys dominate against Alabama, no complaints from me whatsoever.
Yeah, I didn't figure you would. Stormy Rhodes has been dynamite. I think he's posted, if I'm not mistaken, 3 straight very strong starts for OK State on a Sunday. Jake,
yeah,
was I right?
Pretty much so. TCU was pretty solid a couple weeks ago. Didn't do so good against Arizona State. He had a good stretch before that, though, for sure.
Okay, yeah, that must be what I'm thinking about.
Ethan Lund has been great lately, though.
Lund has been on fire.
Yeah, that's a great start for them to have on Friday. If they were to throw him against Upstate, they might save him for Bama. Who knows?
I would imagine we'll get Lund on.
Actually, now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure. I think Hudson Barrett has actually been.
He's been in the bullpen quite a bit.
And Lund is thrown on Saturday, so that would actually work out perfectly. Anyways, now that I think about it.
Yeah, keep them on the same pace. Jake, looking at Tuscaloosa, obviously, Josh made several good points about these teams up and down. One player we have not heard mentioned yet, it is, of course, Justin LeBron. Funnily enough, I do not see any SEC teams in this regional. Can Justin LeBron turn it back on, Jake?
That was the exact thing that I was getting ready to start out saying. Like this Alabama team, LeBron, he's the leader of this team. No matter how he's performing, he's going to be the one with the highest expectations, and he's facing some non-SEC competition. So who knows how he's going to be? But but in this lineup, just as a whole, I kind of just have my worries. I forget what team we talked about earlier, but in a similar sense, after him, Brady Neal, who else are you kind of scared of in that lineup? Like maybe Bryce Fowler at times, but that's kind of it. And I think that's like their 1, 2, 3 guys in their order. So after that 3rd spot in the order comes up, the lineup gets pretty thin. And I don't think that when you're going into a regional with an Oklahoma State team that can really hit baseballs, and it's one of the best offenses in the country. I don't know. It's gonna be a weird one. Tyler Fay is obviously gonna pitch it well. Miles Upchurch has been solid, but if it turns into a slugfest like Oklahoma State kind of turns games into at time, I kind of just have my worries a little bit with Alabama. But a couple notes on the other two teams. Upstate, Josh talked about the offense. Brent Stukes, he had a massive 8-inning shutout performance in that Big South tournament against High Point. I think it was the semifinal game that he pitched in. He went 8 innings, 0 runs to help him get that win over High Point. And then for Alabama State, they've played Alabama twice this year. In their first meeting, they only lost 2-1 in Tuscaloosa. So, they've been here before. They've played well here before. Not just saying that Alabama State is going to go on this magical run here, but this isn't an environment that they're unfamiliar with. And Miguel Oropeza, like Josh talked about, he's got some good numbers this year. He's kind of the leader of that team. Just the pitching is a little bit weak, especially if they were to go up against like an Oklahoma State. I don't know that would go very well for them. But this is a fun one. It's a clash of a lot of different play styles in this one. It's going to be an interesting one to see play out, I guess.
I think so. Jake, we will stick with you to make a selection for both a winner and for a runner-up in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling like we all might be thinking the same thing here. I'm going Oklahoma State to win it. I'm going Oklahoma State to win it. The offense is too good. And Alabama, I just don't think the lineup's deep enough in the same sense there, but I'm going to take them as the runner-up. They feel like the top two teams by a pretty wide margin. So I'm going Oklahoma State to win, Alabama to be the runner-up.
Let's start with JB, Josh, and then we'll get your selection.
So I'm very curious to see what Drew does here, because he said, I don't think we're doing the same thing. JB has Oklahoma State to win and Bama to come in second. I have the same thing, which means Drew's either going to pick Bama or he's going to get funky here. And so I'm curious to see where this goes.
It's time to get funky. All right. The winner is Oklahoma State. Far and away the best team in this region. But guys, did you know that one of the home ballparks in this region is named after some family of mine? I don't know that, but I'm gonna shout him out. Mr. Former coach Herbert Wheeler, the namesake of the Wheeler-Watkins baseball complex, Alabama State. I'm going to take these Hornets as the second. They're going to runner up here because yep, that's the kind of analysis you can only get here, baby. 2.5 hours in, let's get them. Alabama State Hornets, baby, sting them all. All right, Josh, let's talk about Austin. Let's talk about Austin and get me out of this regional. I don't know. I think Alabama is likely. I think you guys likely have it right. I don't trust Alabama at all. I think that's such a bizarre regional. But Austin, on the other hand, we've got talent. There's some real teams, and I'm going to tell you, do not look past a team wearing purple in this regional, folks. Josh, walk us through Austin. What are we looking at?
Well, unfortunately, I think there's two teams wearing purple here, and I feel like the pretty chalky pick is going to be to look past both of them. But we'll see.
Indeed.
What do I want to talk about here? I'll talk about Tarleton State's offense, because if you're not going to look past them, that's probably going to be the thing that gives you a little hope. They won a really competitive conference with Cal Baptist at the top. They've been jousting back and forth for a little bit. They came out on top in the regular season and the conference tournament. A lot of metrics like this Tarleton State offense. Little bit of strikeout issues, which, like I've said, against pitching staffs like Texas and UC Santa Barbara are probably going to come into play. But you never know. Weird things happen. It's baseball. Rainer Heinrich has been their best bat this year for sure. Out of left field. Slade McLeod, all-name team. Really good for them this year at second base mostly. Not a ton to look forward to on the mound. Colt Lowry's been pretty solid recently, especially recently. I'm pretty sure in the tournament he had a really good game against Sac State. I'm pretty sure. Great stuff. Maybe it can win them a game or two. It's mostly between Texas and UC Santa Barbara. Let's be real. And it's two of the best pitching staffs in America. I've been harping on Texas being the best pitching staff in America since the beginning of the season. I don't know if number one is the case for them anymore. Top 5, top 7 feels about right. But it's the same thing for UC Santa Barbara. There's depth for Santa Barbara. That's the main thing. They have Jackson Florida at the top. That goes without saying. He's been nearly flawless as of late. Kellen Montgomery and Nathan Aceves have been pretty good for them recently, a lot better throughout the whole season. I'm curious to see who they start in these games, though, because Calvin Prosky has an opportunity to start. They'll probably throw one of those last 3 guys I mentioned on Friday and hope they can beat Tarleton and save Flora for a potential matchup with Texas on Saturday. They could also pitch off against Tarleton and have an opportunity to let their bullpen work, which would be really beneficial because it's a great bullpen. Cole Triba and Chase Hoover are the biggest 2 guys there. Raymond Olivas has been pretty solid this year too. I think that pitching staff can hold their own with anybody. I think there's legitimately about 6-ish major league arms there, maybe 7 or 8, and that's going to play against whoever you go up against. But the Texas offense is a pretty tough one to have to go up against too. Carson Tenney, Aiden Robbins, Anthony Pack, really, really good this year. Casey Borba as well. Adrian Rodriguez, not so much, but we know what he's capable of, and he can turn it on at any given time. The Texas pitching staff, their weakness has probably been the bullpen this year, the depth of it at least. There's no denying the top of the bullpen. Sam Cozart has been awesome. Brett Crossland and Hayden LeFew have been really good too. But once you get past there, kind of iffy at times. And so we'll see how much length the starters can give you. They'll probably go Volantis, Riojas, Harrison, or maybe I don't know actually. I don't know how rest looks for them because actually I do because Schloss didn't throw anybody in. Can we talk about that, by the way? I don't know if y'all are watching that game. We were watching it live in the press box. It is one of the weirdest reactions I've had to a pitching strategy ever, actually. Forget what I was about to say, ever. They threw Caleb Rogers, who had thrown 1/3 of an inning in his entire Texas career season, whatever you want to call it, right? And they threw, I think it was Cody Howard was the other guy out there, barely pitched this year. Threw a third guy, I forget his name. So at that point, you are literally throwing the game, right? You're down 8-1 to Arkansas. Who do they bring in the game in relief? Dylan Volantis. What is the thought process? I know Drew loves a rant about Schloss's, coaching decisions not being so great. Yes, you. But I can't fathom what I saw. No one I was around could process what the logic could be in doing that. So that's another tangent I needed to put on air because I just don't get that at all. But nonetheless, it's a good pitching staff, and I just went on too far of a rampage. Jake, take it from here.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just hopping straight into it. Texas, they enter the tournament, or they enter this regional with SEC Freshman of the Year Anthony Pack, Newcomer of the Year Aiden Robbins, and all the other stars that you mentioned earlier, and then Dylan Volantis, Sam Cozart, in the bullpen is those 2 guys are just as dangerous as they come on the mound. For UCSB, I've thought a lot about, what I would do if I was going to manage that pitching staff. Now, they didn't ask me, but if it was an elimination game or a game against Texas in the winners bracket, I think I would want to have Jackson Flora for it. Calvin Prosky, you mentioned him. He would probably be the guy that starts if it's not Flora. He should be able to hold his own against Tarleton. I know they got some good bats over there in Tarleton, but Prosky's a great arm. He should be able to hold his own against them and give Flora a chance to go against this Texas team, who's been really good on the road this year. They're coming into this with a 16-7 road record. The lineup hasn't supported their pitchers very much this year, but there's no denying the arms that they're going to run out. Every arm that we see in this regional from Santa Barbara is going to be draft guys, I'm sure. There's not a weak pitcher that we're going to see come out of that Gauchos dugout or bullpen or whatever. For Tarleton, I just worry. Josh talked about it. I worry about their pitching depth, being able to keep up with the arms, especially the ones that they're going to see from UCSB and Texas. But the team can swing the bats. You know, I think this is their first time in the NCAA tournament since they switched over to being a Division I program. If I hope I'm correct on saying that. But yeah, Rainer Heinrich, he can really hit. Matthew McCullough, Ethan Wendell have been pretty good, but I just worry about their pitching depth going down the stretch of this one. And then for Holy Cross, I'll shout them out. Patriot League, weird landing spot for Holy Cross, in my opinion. You know, it's a really tough draw for them too, getting matched up with UCSB and Texas, but they have the Patriot League Player of the Year, C.J. Eggery. That guy, I know you guys may not have watched a ton of C.J. Eggery, but he's a lot of fun to watch. He runs, he hits the ball. He stole home in the winner-take-all game in the Patriot League championship game. I think it was like the first inning, the first run that got put on the board. Eggery stole home. Jaden Waiwoda on the bump has a chance to be really good, but they're the Crusaders are gonna have their work cut out for them in this regional. But shout out to them. They came out of that Patriot League tournament as the 4 seed, taking out I think it was Army and Bucknell in the process. So good year for them.
All right, I have 3 points. I've been patiently waiting to make, and the one team I don't have a point for is Holy Cross. So. Shout out them, man. Holy Cross. I tend to love Holy Crosses. Also, purple, hell of a color for a baseball team. So, shout them out for sure. Jake seems to like them. So, I mean, props. For Tarleton, Josh, you referenced how Slade McLeod, an all-timer name, certainly a team, all-name team selection. Shout out his brother, Cage McLeod, on the team. Their parents named their children Slade and Cage McLeod. If baseball does not work out, these two could be professional wrestlers with no changes, no alteration. In terms of UC Santa Barbara, nothing announced as of yet, but I'm with both of you. I think you hold Jackson Flora for Saturday, regardless of what happens here. You can trust Prosky with Tarleton State. Despite their Bash brothers, as it were. And I don't mean Bash as in Canseco and McGuire. I mean Bash as in body slamming the McLeods. And then, of course, with Texas, I will make the quick point that Schlossnagel doesn't respect analytics. Why would he respect pitching strategy? Anyway, I'd be curious, Jake, who you're going to take here in Austin to win. What your runner-up is going to be.
This one – I feel like this one has the potential to get a little interesting. I came into it thinking that I really wanted to pick someone that's not Texas to come out of this one. I think I am going to take UCSB. The arms are going to be live. I think this Texas lineup has been a little banged up in certain times going down the stretch of the season. I know I just said it earlier, the lineup for UCSB hasn't really supported or protected their pitchers very much this year, but they might just be able to pitch their way to a victory against a maybe slightly banged up Texas offense. So I'm going to go UCSB to win it. Texas as the runner-up.
Jake, put me down for what he's having. I ain't picking Schloss right now. I just waited too long to dunk on him. I ain't picking him after that. Josh, Texas, and who are you going second?
UCSB, and I can't. I'll take the points. I mean, sure. Texas and UCSB are definitely the two best pitching staffs in here by a landslide, and I just don't think UCSB's offense can keep up. They've barely kept up in the Big West. I don't think they can keep up with one of the SEC's top staffs. JV,
so you hate the pick, huh? You think we're crazy for taking UCSB?
You know what? Yeah.
I hate Schloss more than I hate being wrong.
That's a lot. See, as someone who hates being wrong more than almost anything, I can't imagine that, but I get it. I hate Alabama more than I hate being wrong, so that's fair.
Well, yeah,
Look at us.
yeah. I picked Alabama State, so I'm with you there for sure.
Fair enough.
All right, Jake. Let's take a trip from Austin to Eugene, and it will take us somehow, surprisingly, longer than this podcast has taken to make that drive from Austin to Eugene, and yet someone will have the unfortunates of having to do so. In this Eugene regional, we are staring down Oregon, Oregon State, Washington State, and Yale. You probably have smart things to say about these teams, and I can't wait to hear it.
Well, the first thing is that Oregon being the 11th seed feels a little crazy. It feels a little high for them. Nothing really points to them needing to be this high, but that doesn't make them a bad team at all. Drew Smith, Ryan Cooney, the freshman duo, Nelavelle Lawaki, and Angel Lai have been really good this season. Also, Will Sanford having another solid year for them has been massive. Tanner Bradley, Devin Bell out of the bullpen. This is a really good Oregon team. I'm not taking anything away from them. I just don't think that they should necessarily have been seeded this high, but I can't complain. And then Oregon State. This is the matchup that we kind of wanted. I think we've been predicting this one for a while. It seemed like a very predictable one to predict, I guess. But they're a strong 2 seed, and it makes sense that they would be going here. The Beavs probably feel like they should be hosts, to be honest. They probably want to prove that to everyone. No Whitney obviously stinks for them here, but Trey Morris has been pitching in his spot. He's made 4 starts, 22 2/3 innings, allowed just 4 runs, and struck out 24 guys in the process. That's pretty good. The competition, they have the scheduling thing that they have to deal with there, but he's pitched well nonetheless in Dax Whitney's spot. But on offense, we've kind of gone away from this. We haven't talked too much about Oregon State since the beginning of the year, but they really still haven't found that identity that they've been searching for. They don't really have a guy with double-digit homers. They don't have a lot of stolen bases outside of like Easton Talt. Ethan Porter's been their best hitter in terms of average, but he's the only guy on the team hitting over 300. Like the offense hasn't really, gotten fully going yet. And here we are. This is the time they need to get going, and they kind of haven't. But for Washington State, they have the Mount West Pitcher of the Year, Nick Lewis. I'm assuming he's going to be going in that first game. They don't have a ton in terms of power, but Gavin Roy, Matt Priest, Max Hartman, they've done damage at spots this year with the bats. And then my Ivy League boys from Yale. This is such a long trip for them. Very weird that they're going to Oregon, but they're smart. They can handle it. Jack Oman in game 1 versus Oregon is just going to be awesome. This is the thing that I think I might be looking forward to the most. He doesn't have just the best numbers in terms of like ERA or whatever, but he's got the arm talent. It's going to be so much fun getting to see him pitch against Oregon. And then they also have Tate Evans. A game 2 scenario would be Tate Evans going for Yale, and that I think I would feel pretty good about Yale. He was about that if I was Yale. He's the Ivy League Pitcher of the Year. Tate Evans is, and like having those 2 guys be able to go in your first 2 games of a regional, you probably have to feel pretty good even making that long trip. But on offense, this team doesn't hit for too much power, but they do reach base at an over 400 clip this year, and they have 124 stolen bases, which ranks them. The Ivy League plays a little bit less games than everybody else, so in terms of like stolen bases per games played, they're 6th in the country. So they get on base, they run, they manufacture runs. I don't think Yale's gonna, Ivy League hasn't historically performed well in regionals, but I don't think Yale is just gonna be a pushover team by any means.
Yeah, word. I think you made some great points, man. Josh, I'm curious. Looking at this one, where do your eyes go in terms of the money matchup? And I think you would agree with me. It's probably going to be Saturday evening when we get some in-state warfare.
Assuming they play Saturday evening, that you can't guarantee it, but I would say that my eyes in this regional go straight to the 2 Oregon schools. Pretty much. I mean, it's both similarly built teams with similar strengths, although Oregon's offense is obviously stronger. They both have elite pitching staffs with 3 really good starters and 2 top-notch guys out of the pen. But you know what? We're 2 hours and 44 minutes into this podcast. Let's get weird. Can I make the Yale case?
I wish you would.
Oh boy, am I about to. Unfortunately, this team gives me a little bit of PTSD because they give me some 2023 Penn vibes that came to Auburn. Ivy League team that just plays small ball and scraps around the yard a little bit. They're going to steal bases on you. They're going to take walks. They're going to get on base at a high clip, although it might not be the flashiest thing in the world. Guys off the top like Caden Dassa and Garrett Larson are going to swipe a lot of bags for you. Same thing with Jack Dower. He's going to steal you a bag or two. You know, he was pretty solid for them last year, looked pretty good in Royal Oak this summer in the Northwoods, and he's been a consistent guy in the cleanup role for them this year, so I think he could be a big factor this weekend in Eugene. Obviously, the big story here is Jack Oman. That's what everyone wants to talk about with Yale. Has been since the beginning of the year. My stupid self picked him as the mid-major pitcher of the year back in February, I guess it was, and then he ran like a 5 ERA because that's the curse I have on people at this point. Regardless, it's been a little bit better recently. The ERA is up to, I think, or down to like a 5.23, and we know what he can do. He is the stuff. He purely has what you are looking for in a first or second round draft guy. He is what they look like. The thing is, it just hasn't really come together for him this year, and this would be a great weekend for him to put it back together. And I don't really think a lot of people would doubt that he can per se. Ben Winslow, Tate Evans have been really good out of the bullpen for them this year too. I think if they can take the UNC route of things and abuse those top 2 bullpen guys and kind of ride the coattails of their starters, I think they can dominate Washington State's kind of poor offense and Oregon State's very poor offense. Oregon State, I'm pretty sure, fact check myself here real quick before I say this. Oregon State has one guy in their starting lineup with an OPS over 900, and he has 58 at-bats on the year. So that pretty much tells you what you need to know there. I think Yale's pitching staff could actually take advantage of them and at least make it to a Sunday with Oregon. So might not necessarily be my pick, but look, we're at the point. You just got, if you're a Yale baseball fan out there, you just got a 2.5-minute monologue on Yale baseball. Congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, they got to be hyped. Obviously,
yeah. They have their 8 fans out there are like absolutely flooding my stuff right now. Also, speaking of, I just got a follow on Twitter from Ryan McPherson's mom, which is really I got a follow from someone called, I know, right? I didn't even post about her son today. I got a follow from Grant Govell's mom today too, as well as someone named. I just got a JoJo Pate follow, which I really thought might be a Josh Pate burner, and I was really looking forward to it, but you know what? I got bamboozled.
Unfortunate for sure. But there's always tomorrow, Josh. There's always tomorrow. But for today, I'd love to get your picks from the Eugene Regional.
I'll give you JB's first. JB is going to go Oregon as the winner and Washington State as the runner-up. Fascinating.
All right.
I did all that talking just to say I'm going to pick Oregon and Oregon State as the runner-up. But it's purely just based on, I don't trust the Oregon State offense in the slightest, not one bit. But the story was too good to be true for them to get into the regional together, and then they did. And since we're already here, I want to say it's too good to be true for them to be in the regional final together. But why not, We're already halfway there. We're living on a prayer.
Yeah, halfway there, living on a prayer. Jake, let's go to you, man. 2 Oregon champions thus far. Will you break that streak?
Man, this regional had the chance to be just a 27 draft nerd's dream if Dax Whitney was able to throw in this one, with Oman and him being out there. But I'm glad you also talked well about Yale, Josh, because I'm going to pick them as my runner-up to Oregon.
Come on,
I'm going to go Oregon. I'm going to go Oregon winning it. I think they are just the best overall team in this. I think they. They're probably the best offense. Not probably. I mean, they are the best offense in this regional. They have good enough arms to obviously get them to the end here. But I'm gonna go Yale. I'm gonna go Yale as the second team. Jack Oman's gonna pitch in that first game. Might not get to see him again. But Tate Evans, they got some other guys that you mentioned earlier as well that can. I think they could get them a couple wins out of the losers bracket if it comes down to it. So give me Yale.
I have no idea what I want to do here, boys. Jake, I do want to point out something you said earlier. You said that it's a long trip across the country for Yale, but you said they can take it. They're smart. So I think it's hilarious that smart people are more adept to long travel. Love that logic out of you, man. That's fabulous work. I was tempted to take Yale to win this thing, but I just don't think I can. I don't think I can get that crazy. I should probably take Oregon State, but I don't trust them at all. Haven't trusted them. I mean, guys, we game timed earlier this year about which mid-major, what's the lowest mid-majors offense you could give Oregon State before you like them a million times better. If I'm not mistaken.
You also haven't trusted Oregon all year either.
I have not. That I have not. So, I mean, I'm staring down the barrel of Wazoo Yale here. I think I'm going to – oh, God, I hate this. I do not like this at all. We're going to go Oregon Wazoo. No, Oregon Yale. All right, Oregon Yale.
Man, I just did a monologue that long for y'all just to take Yale and me not to. Was it my logic, or were y'all already thinking this? Like
I talked about Yale too. I went first, and I mentioned how good they are too.
I respect this. This is good work. Shout out Yale.
So I heard a really good monologue, but honestly, Josh, what tipped me over the edge was thinking, what's it going to take to come out on top of this regional with just a handful of question marks in my brain? But it was the thought that a bunch of really smart guys playing baseball, knowing that a trip across the country is going to only energize them, that tipped me over the edge.
Got that right.
So shout out my man Jake for the killer point. The travel, nothing. They're too damn smart. All right, let's go on to Starkville. I've spent a little bit of time in Duty Noble Field this year, as you may or may not know from following me on socials. The dude is far and away the park who can host the most people. They're going to cram them in there to watch Mississippi State. But, boys, I don't think that it's going to be quite a pushover for the Dogs because they have got some squads who are hungry to come in here and take an upset in front of some of the biggest crowds in the tournament. Jake, Starkville, what do you think?
So my very first thought when I saw this, when I was trying to figure out what to talk about here, is that this has potential to turn into a bit of a rowdy one. You know, between those fans at Mississippi State, if they get a Saturday game with Louisiana's fans traveling up there, that could turn into a rowdy matchup in the seats. But for Mississippi State, you know, this arguably, you know, we talked about it on the bracketology. This arguably could have been Arkansas's hosting spot. Apparently, the committee if Arkansas was the next one, they may have had it narrowed down between them and West Virginia. You know, I don't know, but for Mississippi State, though, you know, this team has had stars all year, and for the most part, they've lived up to that hype. Ace Reese, Noah Sullivan, Bryce Chance, and you know, Jacob Parker coming on strong. You know, that they've been big forces in this lineup. The big question here, I mean, I guess it may not even be a question. It's probably going to be a sure thing for Tomas like this. When's he going to get used? I would assume it's probably a sure thing that they're going to save him for that second game. And if I were them, I would like my chances at running him out there and getting him to send us to a regional championship game if they win their first one against Lipscomb. But for Cincinnati, you know, Cincinnati could make a little bit of noise here. You know, we love Jack Natili on here, but freshman Enzo Infelice, I think I say that right. That's how it's spelled. Him and Quentin Coates are very dangerous in the batter's box as well. They have to feel good about Nathan Taylor. I'm sure they wish they could save Nathan Taylor for any point and have him against Mississippi State in that potential matchup, but I don't think they're going to be able to against Louisiana. The Sun Belt, they got 5 teams in. They deserved to get 5 teams in. Arguably Texas State, you know, but 4 or 5 teams. The Sun Belt is really strong. Louisiana is one that definitely deserved to be in here, and they caught fire at the end of the year, and they got the metrics where they needed to be. But they have a trio of arms: Cody Brash, Andrew Harriman, and Ty Roman, all very talented and have a chance to set this team up really nicely in this regional. Lee Amity and Colt Brown have had good years, but the rest of that lineup is going to have to continue to rally around them the way they have over this past month or so of the year. And then for Lipscomb, I just worry about Lipscomb's pitching depth, especially in the rotation. They do have guys in the lineup like Caleb Cantola, Adam Jameson, who've been great for them, or they've been good out of the bullpen, but they have a solid number. They got some bats, and Cam Pruitt is the one that's been really good for them. Batting 350, 17 doubles, 15 stolen bases, rarely strikes out. Like I talked about, Cantola, Jameson, they're the bullpen guys, but I worry about their pitching depth in the rotation. But yeah, I'm kind of hoping for a Louisiana Mississippi State Saturday game just to see how loud that place can get.
It could be. I think you said it could be rather rowdy, not just on the field, but in the seats, if that is to occur. Josh, thinking about Starkville. We have some offense, we have some pitching, we've got some question marks. I'm curious, what catches your eye the most?
This is easily one of the most difficult ones to pick for me, for sure. I would say that the big thing here is it's 3 really good pitching staffs with a couple of offenses that can really hit the long ball. So it should be a lot of fun at the Dude this weekend. Unfortunately, I think Lipscomb is one of those few 4 seeds that you can chalk it up to just happy to be here. I don't know how much noise they can really make there. I think Louisiana, Jake said it best. They caught fire at the right time and got the metrics where they needed to be. And I think that they can continue to keep that hot streak going. Behind guys like Lee Amity and Colt Brown, truly being the leaders of that offense. I'm kind of disappointed. I thought that I was kind of in on Blaze Rodriguez and Maddox Mandino for a year or two now, and it hasn't really panned out for them. But some other guys have picked it up just enough. Pitching staff is really great. I love Cody Brash so much. He's a sneaky draft guy this year in a mid-round, good fastball curveball combo, mid-90s funky release traits. He's fun to watch. I enjoy watching him. And I'll definitely tap into when he's playing this weekend in Starkville for sure against some really good offenses in Cincinnati. I saw Cincy play earlier this year against Auburn. Quentin Coates and Jack Natilli, people know enough about them. Goes without saying. Ryan Tyrensky has been pretty good this year too. I loved Derek Pitts when I saw him. I will be pushing some propaganda for him next year. That's a dynamic athlete that just you can tell that guy is what they look like. That's an athlete. That guy is going to have a future in this game, I'm pretty sure. Jackson Smith is going to swipe bags for you. It's a fun offense. Pitching staff led by Nate Taylor. Logan Knight's been a good guy for them too, pretty consistently. They've all kind of dropped off a decent bit recently besides Nathan Taylor, but they can hold their own in this regional. Mississippi State goes without saying. Offense, they have 1 million guys with an OPS over 1,000. Everyone knows how good the Mississippi State offense is at this point. It's just question marks with the health of the pitching staff. Tomas Valinkos and Duke Stone are going to be pretty consistent guys, although Duke Stone hasn't been too great recently, which come to find out Drew might be happy with. I don't know. That's another conversation for another day. They just need Ryan McPherson to be himself again. They know what they're getting out of Ben Davis in the bullpen. They know what they're getting out of Maddox Miller. Very curious to see how Jack Bauer looks in a postseason environment. I'm sure a lot of people are. That's just going to be a really fascinating watch for sure. Lots of moving parts in this regional, but this is, Starkville, first regional in a little bit. Jack DeLongshaw on the call. Cowbells ringing. It's just going to be so much fun all the way around.
It's going to be ridiculous. I think that is the best way to put it. And yes, the commentary is going to be noteworthy, to say the very least. Josh, we'll start with you. Your prediction, or if you want to start with JB, you may do that as well.
I'll start with JB. He took Mississippi State to win and Cincinnati to come in second. I will be taking State to win because they just can't lose that regional at the Dude, and I will take the Raging Cajuns to be the runner-up. Shout out Cody Brash. Shout out all those guys. They got hot at the right time. They're going to keep it up.
Jake?
Those are some great selections by Josh. I will be doing the same thing. I'm going Mississippi State to win and our Raging Cajuns to stay hot and finish as the runner-ups.
Phenomenal pick.
Brash Taylor is going to be that's going to be good on Friday. They're going to be eating good in Starkville.
Mm-hmm.
I'll stick with my Big 12 bias question mark and echo JB with Mississippi State, Cincinnati. I do think Louisiana's got a great squad, and I'm curious what that's going to look like in Duty Noble in that environment. Because again, I think Jake said it. If their fans travel well, then that could be an interesting environment. As we trend towards 3 hours, 2:59:38 on the clock. We have arrived at our last regional, boys, and it is Athens. Shall we talk about the Bulldogs, Josh? Shall we talk about the grouping that have been assigned to feed the trees alongside those Bulldogs?
We shall. I mean, look, we're ending this thing with a regional that, hate to say it, one of the more boring ones in terms of analysis, because I think, as I said about Georgia Tech, this is Georgia's world and we're just living in it. And boy, are they going to feed the trees. They lead the country in home runs. Probably going to do it again. Because I would imagine AJ Colarusso and Ben Blair both go on Friday. I think they might have to. But at this point, there's the starters for Liberty after Ben Blair aren't exactly pushovers. Bradley Zayek has been really good for them this year. Boston College, I wasn't really impressed with the pitching staff this past weekend. Granted, it was one game, but it just kind of looked rough. And other games I've seen from them this year haven't been great. Tyler Mudd doesn't fully impress me. Colarusso, granted, didn't look great against Miami, so I don't know how that looks for the near future. But Liberty's lineup, besides Nick Barone and Tanner Marsh, is kind of nothing really impresses you. Boston College, they've hit around a little bit this year. Nick Wang's been great for them. Julio Solier. Jack Toomey's been pretty good too. There's nothing fully impresses you. Georgia, I mean, come on now. It's top 3 offense in the country, indisputably. Like I said, leading the country in home runs.
Yeah.
I think they're top 5 in runs per game. They're top 5 in WRC plus average, all the things. I'm pretty sure they have also a million guys with an OPS over 1,000. Oh my God, yeah, they have 7 starters with an OPS over 1,000 in the SEC, and the other 2 have an OPS over 970. It's stupid. These guys are actually they have so much firepower on offense. It's ridiculous. I don't really see how they get even, I don't want to say tested in this regional, because that's when upsets happen and I eat my words. But man, I would be hard pressed to find any kind of, issues they have here.
It could be very interesting. Jake, I'm curious, can you spot any of the issues that Georgia may have as they host in Athens?
I don't think so. I mean, I'll just say it again. We've said it a bunch. Daniel Jackson, he's done nothing but hit all season long. He did it in the non-conference. He did it in SEC play, in the SEC tournament. I just don't think after Colarusso and Ben Blair likely get burned after that first game. I don't think there's anyone that's gonna be able to slow him down. And then there's the Georgia offense as a whole. I'm agreeing with Josh. I don't know that there's a ton that's going to be able to slow this team down. For Liberty, though, Josh mentioned all the top guys there, but they shouldn't be taken lightly as a 3 seed in this one. They've played well on the road. They're 19-6 on the road. I like Bradley Zayek. That's a solid second starter after Ben Blair. The lineup does get a little thin pretty quickly, but you have 2 front end starters, and that's more than what some teams have. Then I'll talk about Long Island a little bit. The pitching's light, especially from a pure stuff standpoint. They do have the NEC Pitcher of the Year, Nicholas Finarelli. I'm assuming, he's just going to go in that first game against Georgia. They're going to run him out there, let him do his best. they have a few decent bats with Ryan Rivera, Elijah Fairchild leading the way. The Sharks, I think, are probably going to have a tough time in this one, but they did steal that NEC championship away from where it was FDU for the most part of the year. They kind of came out of that at the end and stole that tournament away from them. They kind of smoked them, I think, in the last weekend, and then they played them in the tournament again and stole that one from Fairleigh Dickinson. But I agree. I mean, I may just be giving it away, but I think this does feel like Georgia's regional to lose here.
Yeah, I think it may be a universal aga across the top of this one. But Jake, we will start with you nonetheless.
Yeah, Georgia's gonna be my winner. No one's gonna slow down that offense. I mentioned the teams just in this regional that I feel like probably can't slow down the offense, but I don't know that there might not be a team in the country that can slow down this offense. If we're being completely honest, they're gonna hit a lot. So Georgia's gonna win. And to quote our good buddy JP Sebastiano, give me liberty or give me death. I think he was the first person to make that quote. I don't know, but give me liberty as the runner-up in this one.
Historically known for that quote, JB Sebastiano. Yes. Speaking of JB, Josh, his selections will be
Georgia to win, and he will not be receiving death this evening, as he will be taking liberty as well.
Very good.
I will slightly switch it up. I'll take Georgia and then take Boston College as my runner-up. It's kind of easy to doubt Boston College, knowing the pedigree they have, but they've done so well this year and overcome expectations. I won't doubt them again. I am technically doubting them by not picking them to win, but come on now, let's be real.
Doubting them in a respectful way.
Of course.
Yeah, I'll join you in doubting them in a respectful way. I'll take Bird Ball one last time to fly on out of the season. And speaking of fly on out, man, if you're still here, Lord, you have earned the College Baseball Now Merit Badge of the Year. If you made it to this point, I do need you seriously to drop us a tweet with Jake. Come up with a code word.
Marathon.
Yeah. Drop us a tweet. Tag us. You see our handles there on the screen. Tag the three of us with the word marathon. We'll know you made it here. Or you can leave a YouTube comment with marathon as well, because we'll know that you made it to this point. Guys, I had a great time breaking down these regionals. I feel like I have laughed. I've cried. It moved me, Bob. I feel genuinely thrilled that we got to do this and had this fun together. Alas, though, like every good party, it must come to an end. And rather than overstay our welcome, Jake, tell the fine folks at home where they can follow you between our episodes and what you're working on right now.
You can follow me on Twitter at Jake Barge. I will be coming out with some mid-major rankings, hopefully around the same time this video will be posted. So be on the lookout for that. It's just gonna be the teams that are in the field currently in those rankings. Might probably try to sneak Mercer in there somewhere. Shout out Mercer. They deserve they need to be here. They need to be here. Probably going to be pretty high on my rankings if I had to guess. But shout out Mercer one more time. So
shout out Mercer one more time. Thank you, Coach. Josh, where can the folks find you between our episodes, and what are you working on right now, little buddy?
You can find me on Twitter at JoshCatlet3. You can still go look at all my stuff from the ACC tournament last week on the website. Just put out like I said, my pre-postseason, as someone just commented on my thing, that the phrase pre-postseason is really putting his brain in a blender. Didn't think that one through, but touche. You can go check that out on my Twitter. I'll be posting some stuff through the weekend about regionals. Yeah, we should be getting that article about, the ranking the regionals based on our opinions. Should be getting that out. Should be fun. That was a fun episode. That was long. I am tired.
Indeed it has. Josh, you didn't reference it, but there's a special day coming up for you as well, if I'm not mistaken.
If you mean my birthday, that is next week. That is a week from when we're recording this. So
I was going to say, I thought
big
there
23, the illustrious 23rd birthday that everyone looks forward to.
Oh, okay. Well, Didn't think I'd feel tired and old after this podcast, but alas, Josh, a little gift from you to me, and I do.
Thank you.
If you want to follow me on in between our episodes, you may do so on the Twitter machine, on Blue Sky, on Instagram at Drew is okay. Happy to tell you that a membership at Prospects Live starts as low as $7 a month for all of the internet's best baseball content anywhere. It's been a 3-hour podcast. This is the longest in our history, and I'm pretty sure the history of the site. Either way, it's great stuff. Do encourage you to check that out. We are going to be returning to your ears with our regional recap. I believe that might be a day late as compared to how we normally do this. So either way, stay tuned because we'll have regional recap as well as super regional preview coming next week very, very soon. I believe those will mark the 40th and 41st episodes of the show. And what a blessing it's been to cover college baseball for you. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. We've really enjoyed bringing it to you. Stay on the lookout. Prospects Live, we got a ton of good stuff coming out, a ton of great stuff to read as well. Whether you're wanting to see stuff for the draft or for the NCAA tournament, we've got it. All right, we have talked long enough. For Josh, for Jake, for JB, I'm Drew. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.